This is the Pine Man. Hello. How are you today? Yeah, it is. It is Wednesday, and it sure does feel like one. Let me tell you. Hump day, am I right? You want to hear some? Here, this is okay. So I was trying to sign up for insurance today, like I was telling you. And first, did the wrong thing first. I like I went to like Oregon Health Plan, and like a first one thing that came up was not the right thing, but I clicked on it and it was like, see if you're qualified for Oregon healthcare. And I was like, okay. Filled out the form, and literally as soon as I clicked submit, like the form was just like name, phone number, email address.
Yeah.
Filled it out, went go. My phone rang immediately. And I was like, okay, this was the wrong website.
Oh God.
So I talked to a man on the phone who was like, "Oh, so you're interested in insurance? Blah blah blah. Oh, okay, let me transfer really quickly." Transferred me, and I was like talking to a man who kind of had like the New York thing going on. Like he probably like worked in an office.
Yeah.
And he's just basically cold calls people every day trying to sell them insurance, maybe.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And he literally said to me on the phone, "You know it's Wednesday, hump day." Or no, you know it's hump day. I'm doing all right. And at that moment I knew something was wrong.
Oh my God, yeah, that's
And I was like, I was trying to sign up for Oregon Health Plan. And he's like, "Oh, well, I got you on the phone, so maybe we'll talk about insurance a little bit." And I was like, "No, I think that I don't want to pay for insurance, so I'm gonna go."
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then I hung up. Or he was like, "Okay." And yeah, then I was stressed about that for a little bit because I'm like, "Oh, great. Am I like involved in like this thing now? I'm gonna get calls all the time, people trying to sell me insurance."
Yeah.
But then I found the right website, which was not hard to find. I was just sleepy when I started doing it.
Yeah,
And
it
then
happens.
it was easy. I talked to someone on the phone, and they just walked me right through it. And they asked me some questions, and I had to like sign something by saying my name, which is great.
Oh, there you
Yeah, they asked me a lot of questions, like are you deaf?
go. As you're having an extended conversation.
Yeah, and I was like,
Over
nope.
the phone. I mean, I guess maybe you have some really good technology that's like you're able to just translate it really
That's
quick into
true.
text.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's possible, but
I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. No, it was a nice guy. His name was Kevin. It was good. It was great.
Yeah.
Shout out
nice.
to Kevin. Thanks for helping me get my health insurance set up.
Yeah. Shout out Kevin.
He said, "Do you
Yeah.
have any? Are you self-employed?" And I was like, "Not yet."
Oh yeah. Did you say that?
I was like, "You ever check out the Pineman?"
Yeah. Right. That's awesome. Maybe he'll subscribe. Just kidding.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. That's
Oh
funny.
man, but I bought I was itching for a new game, so I was looking on the PlayStation Store for under $15 games,
Okay.
and I bought what is it called? It was like Stranded Deep, I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Have you heard of
not
that?
heard of that? No.
It's fun, but it's difficult. So what happened was I played for maybe like an hour, and then I was like, I need to know how to play this game. So then I watched like a beginner's guide to Stranded Deep, and then I was like, oh, I like this guy's voice. So then I just like watched one of his Let's Plays as I fell asleep.
Okay. I mean, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
So I basically spent $8 today to find a new YouTube channel that I like.
Well, okay. Honestly, it's well worth the price of admission, I guess. Whatever. I guess I don't know. Sorry,
No,
I'm honestly a little
hey,
distracted just because I realized it was only for like the first like 10 seconds, but my mic was muted for the first 10 seconds. But so I'm just like kind of thrown off. Like, wait, did I do anything else wrong? But I think it's okay.
Oh, muted like on because I could hear you.
Yeah, right. It was muted on OBS, so literally for 10 seconds. The only thing that was missed was me saying, "Hey, welcome to the Pine Men. This is another episode, whatever." That was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
It's just I'm like, what the hell? Like I thought I hit the button, but and I'm thrown off because I'm like my mind is like we were just talking about 5 minutes before we hopped on. It was
you're on
my mind is
on death's
racing.
door at this point.
Yeah, basically based on a whole bunch of like made up illnesses that I have that I decided that I have based on no symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, what other way is there to go about living?
Yeah, I mean, I remember what it was like not to feel this way, and I would never want to go back to that. That sucked. I didn't even know about. I was going around acting like I didn't have like 5 different deadly diseases. I was so clueless.
Yeah, back when your liver worked fine.
Yeah, back when I didn't have like COVID every single time I went out in public, but not just COVID. It's COVID that is going to transmit to every single person I've ever known, and then they're going to have underlying health conditions that are unknown to them, and then they'll die too. Also.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's rough. It's rough when it's like that.
Yeah. Just some days I feel like it's like more than usual, and the reason I feel this is just because, like I went in a public space, which I don't know. I've done that before many times. But this time I'm just like, no, this is a COVID scenario. I could just tell.
Yeah. Were there people all around coughing in there too?
No.
Oh.
But
Well, anything is possible.
Yeah, but you also got to understand it was hot today, and like when you get sick, you have a fever, and a fever is hot. So you connect the dots.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you had a fever today?
Mentally, I don't think I actually did. And then I went outside for a while, and I was like, I just honestly to just ease my mind a little bit. I went outside and like took care of the plants a little bit, which I do multiple times a day anyway. But like this time I did it, and I was like, ooh, you know what? Let me like. I popped the shirt off. I was like, let me let me even out this tan a little bit. You know, this
Oh, hell
little
yeah.
farmer's tan going on. How do I make this show? You know, we got this.
Okay,
I don't know.
gotcha,
It doesn't
yeah.
show that much because my arm is pretty hairy, but you know. But yeah, it's definitely a nice farmer's tan. So I tried to even that out, and I don't know if you know this, but like the sun is also hot, and
Oh shit.
then it like went on my skin. The sun did,
Mhm.
and then my skin felt like ever so slightly hot.
Oh no.
So that's another symptom, you know.
God. Damn.
Like as you know, I was stressed out about this yesterday too. So in
Mhm.
order to convince myself that like I'm not having a virus destroy my lungs, I went for a jog for the first time in a long time, just to prove that my
Yeah.
lungs work to myself. And another symptom is body aches, and my legs are
Oh,
a
no.
tiny bit sore. So I'm pretty sure that's also a symptom. So
From the COVID, not the
yeah,
running.
from the COVID. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Which I've had COVID twice already, and I was fine. But this time is the real one. You know, you got to be aware of that.
Yeah. This is the one that's gonna really do it.
Yeah, this is the one that's going to be
Yeah.
infecting everybody I've ever known, and yeah, a lot of the time the scenario is either that this one's going to be the one that kills me, and then but also it always infects everybody else. But this time,
Gotcha.
but another aspect of it is that there's the possibility of I get it. It infects everybody I've ever known. They all die, and then I'm left alone, struggling
Wow.
to get through life. And then I'm just like basically living the next, you know, probably 8 years of my life until I probably just randomly die of some other random disease
Yeah.
in the fetal position
likely
in my
liver
bed,
failure.
just shaking and crying for the next like, you know, for the rest of my life. So that's pretty good.
I mean,
The
yeah,
outlook is
yeah.
pretty. The prospects are looking nice for me.
Life is looking good.
Yeah. All of this based on nothing.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you, man. I fucking feel you. You know, I always think, even though I have eyes, that there's needles in the washing machine.
Oh my god. Really? That's a new
Always.
one. For me,
Always.
anyway. I've never heard that. What, so when you
I'm
stick
like-
your hand in, you're going to get all needled up?
I'm gonna get a needle in my finger,
Yeah.
and that needle is not gonna just be a regular needle. It's gonna be a syringe, and it's going to be infected with the AIDS virus,
Yeah.
or maybe like what's the worst? Hep C
Yeah, I guess so.
or something.
Right.
Yeah, one of those, and then like just from that one small mistake, my entire life is turned upside down.
Yeah, that's a great feeling,
Just like
right?
the Fresh Prince.
yeah. Exactly. You got to find yourself an apartment outside of Philadelphia or whatever. I don't know. But like they the other thing that my really smart mind has been doing lately is when I get those little pangs of anxiety over like random illnesses that I decided that I must have for no reason,
Yeah.
I then look back and then I think to myself like, wow, I thought that was just like an average moment, but in a way that was the moment I died. You know what I mean? That was the moment that
Yeah.
like kind of sealed the deal for me. And then and then that thought stays in the mind a little bit, I guess. And then when I do little things, I'm like, wow, I wonder if this is like that moment, you know, where like I just did this thing. Cause another really good thing. What I thought of today related to that is so about a week ago, I was tending to the plants, and I
That's one must.
was shoeless, barefoot, shoeless. Does anyone even say that? I was barefoot, and I was outside, and I stepped on a rock, which I,
Okay.
you know, whatever. It was no big deal, but it kind of hurt a tiny bit. And then I had a tiny little red, like, you know, mark on the bottom of my foot where I stepped on the rock. And today I was like, oh, I wonder if that's still there because it doesn't hurt. So I just looked and I was like, oh, there is like a tiny little dot. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like... I'm laughing now because this is really, truly insane. Maybe maybe it like caused a little bit of blood to like pool under the skin, aka just form a bruise but the skin is thicker down there because it's like the bottom of my foot, and like it caused it to get trapped, and then it dislodged as a blood clot, and it's now traveling to my brain or my heart, and so like little did I know when I stepped on that rock, that was kind of like the moment I died. I was on borrowed time from that point forward.
Yeah, and who knows when that blood clot will eventually
cause
you to have a stroke.
Yep, and I've thought of God. It's funny because when we right before we hopped in, you were like, "Yeah, I'd be down to talk about this sometime because I feel like it is like it's helpful or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
It's true because as I say this stuff, it sounds so stupid. It sounds so stupid, but it's
yeah. That's the worst part too, honestly, for me, is that I know that it's not worth worrying about, but then your brain just like, maybe we'll worry about it a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, Kim, it's not. We don't need to worry about this, because then I mean, honestly, like a lot of the way that I like to live is like, just whatever happens is gonna happen. It's gonna be fine or not fine. That's it.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
But still, my brain's like, but what if because it's more so like about I think forever it's it's about like because for example, right, if I make an active choice that leads me to my demise, that seems reasonable. Okay. But if it's like an accident that I didn't have any control over, then it's like someone killed me and I didn't even get to have a decision about this.
Wow, that's definitely that's I know what you mean, but it's weird because I look at it the exact opposite way. Like I look at it like if some random thing happens to me, then okay, there's nothing I can do about that. But if it's something like that I feel like, oh well, I should have known better, then it's like, wow, not only did I die, but I deserved it. And look at me, I'm an idiot. Like everyone's gonna be like, wow, why did he do that? I can't believe he just basically caused his own demise.
Gotcha.
But I'm not talking about like, I was driving 180 miles per hour in a car, or I jumped off some big ass thing. It's like I'm talking. I went to the mall for 20 minutes with my friend because he asked, "Hey, I want to go," and and like I should have known better. Like, you know COVID exists, so why would you leave the house? You know that, like, alcohol, like when you have a lifetime of alcoholism, there's a chance of liver failure. So if I have like a 6-pack of beer, I'm like, well, I'm doing a thing that causes people to die, so like I'm basically committing suicide. But it's like, it's not like, I could see if I was like, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm like slamming vodka or something like that or whatever. But no, I'm talking about like, when we do this, we're hanging out and I'm just like sipping some beers or something like that, which is like, I'd barely even do that. But like, still, seriously, it's enough. I should have known. Because you must understand, the damage has already been done. And now I'm like, I only have, so it's like
compounding.
Yeah, like the bar, like here's the amount of damage that you're allowed to do. Like I filled it up like this much so far. So I only have this much
every
left.
Beer is
every beer is just ticking away at that little limited amount of resource that's left.
Gotcha.
It makes sense.
I've heard that the liver actually heals really quickly if you don't.
100%.
Yeah.
I read on. That's the other funny thing. It's like I read online when I first started thinking this stuff. I read online that it's like, usually it'll repair itself in like 2 weeks, like completely, pretty much. Even if you have like a slight issue with it, like not like if you have damage for real, but like if you have like just like a little, it's like struggling a tiny bit, it'll repair completely in like 2 weeks, but it starts repairing like right away. So I just casually like just was like, okay, and just like didn't drink any beers or anything for 2 weeks, and then I just like have done that multiple times in the past like 6 months, and like still I'm just like, nah, like you got to realize like that works for somebody who doesn't have permanent damage already. I probably have permanent damage because, like, back when I was in my mid-20s and early 20s, we used to, like, party and stuff like that. Yep, that's what does it. Every college student who's ever gone away to college and, like, drinks on the weekends totally has liver damage.
Dead by 35.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? How can you deny it? I mean, the facts are there.
I know. And honestly, like some people, I think they could drink maybe 2 beers in their life and they'll die immediately.
That must be true. I bet. Yeah. Because they have the underlying health condition that they should have known about. Come on.
Yep. Yeah. And it's obvious too because everyone tells you.
Yeah. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's like, meanwhile, like sometimes I'll watch videos. I've been watching. I've mentioned this before. I think it was while we were streaming on. It's called Soft White Underbelly, and it's about like it's just this guy who like I guess he has like a little studio like right off Skid Row, and he interviews like like drug addicts, like homeless people, whatever, just like gang members and stuff like that, and just lets them like talk a lot and try to be honest about their story, like their life background, like what it's like living out there and stuff like that. Just I don't know, it's just interesting to see people's point of view, and they're these like. I'm not saying anything bad at like, oh, they're so like, I'm not saying anything bad about them as people. It's like, I feel bad. They're victims of their environment, obviously. And a lot of them realize that. And like, in their older age, when you see the ones who are like 50 years old, they're like, they realize like, yeah, I was just hanging around the wrong people in the wrong environment in the, the opportunities weren't there, whatever. But, my point is just that I'm like, a lot of these people are like, in their 50s and stuff like that. And I think that I basically caused my own downfall by like I said, like hanging out and going to bars like a couple times a week on when I was like in my 20s. Like, like, what the hell?
And also the interesting thing too, like that the like blaming part, then you step on the rock and it's that moment.
Yeah.
That caused the downfall of your life.
Yeah.
But really it's like, no, it goes further than that, right? Because why were you outside that day?
Yeah.
Then you got into planting. Maybe it's because you got into planting that now you're dying.
Right.
And then you go back further, you're like, maybe it's your interest in like agriculture and renewable resources from watching like a YouTube video that got you interested. That's the YouTube video. If you never watched that YouTube video, you would still be alive.
But here's the thing.
And you just keep going back, and then you're like, oh, I was just born.
Right. Honestly,
I was born and now I'm dead.
I've legitimately thought that before, kinda. I've thought it's kind of cruel to have children because like you force them.
That is not where I was going with that, but yeah.
I don't stand by that or whatever, but it's I've kind of thought about that before. Like you're basically forcing someone to be like every single thing that's ever gonna happen to them. You force that upon them. They didn't ask for it, Like, basically. But I realize it's not. I don't actually believe that. Like, but it's an interesting idea. Like, I mean, technically, it's kind of true, sorta, because you.
No, I think it's literally true, but like to think about it that way is kind of like, well, the alternative is not to have existed on this realm of reality, which is like, if you're judging apples and oranges, it's like neither one matters. It's like, existing or not existing. It's like, well, you're not going to exist again eventually, so it's like everything else in between is just like a kind of a luxury to experience at all.
Right, and that's what I wish I could keep in mind all the time, because that is what I believe is like one of the most important things to realize. It's like, yeah, even though I'm saying all this like negative anxiety fueled stuff, it's like at the end of the day, what do you do? Like, what's the point? What is the point of worrying about this stuff? It's like, yeah, I was brought into this world against my will, which is so funny because I say that so often now, because like I just say it kind of as a joke, but I don't think anytime I say it, people understand what I mean. Like, what I'll be like, yeah, because it's like I was born against my will, which is I'm happy I was, but like, one day here I am, and now it's like, all right, figure it out, and I obviously have guidance of my family and friends and stuff, but like, it's like you just are born. There's no master plan here where it's like you were supposed to do this and be this and figure this out by this time and have this done by this time or whatever. It's like, just I try to just like appreciate the fact that like I have the opportunity to like experience this like physical material world that we're able to interact with and perceive and stuff. It's like such an insane, like unlikely thing. I guess it's like not unlikely because it's inevitable because it happened. I guess I don't know, but like yeah, it's like but just this thing that seems so absurd to just be alive and conscious and stuff like that. It's like, why am I like wasting that on worrying about like, well, what if I'm not soon? It's like, yeah, but you are.
You're gonna not be eventually,
right?
And when that day comes, it's just gonna be
right, exactly. And there's no way that sitting there thinking about like, oh well, basically, I'm like, that like chain of like, oh, I step on a rock, oh god, that was it, that was the moment when I like caused me the blood clot that's gonna eventually do this, and then you look back, it's like, well, you mentioned, oh, well, actually, how far back does it go? Kind of thing. Like, oh, well, the YouTube videos, maybe that inspired me to grow my own vegetables and stuff like that. It's like, I think of it, but for me, it's always blame. It's like, it's not just, oh, wow, yeah, it started with this, and then, that led to this. It's like, oh, well, if I just, like, was a productive, normal member of society, then I would have been, like, at work or something, doing the right thing, and I wouldn't have been just, like...
stepping on rocks.
Going outside to water plants. Because that's such a bad thing to do, apparently, It's so stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid.
There's no such thing as the right thing to do. It's not a real thing.
True, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I feel like it literally isn't. Like, we're all... I mean, I think that it's... Personally, I think it's the wrong thing. I think that's the wrong way to live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I think other people believe that as well. So, I mean, if some people believe it and some people don't, then you don't really know, do you?
Yeah. That's one good thing. It's like such a shame because I feel good about, I don't know, like I feel like my outlook on life is such a mixed bag. It's like, in general, in a lot of ways, it's pretty terrible. Not like my outlook on life, but it's like the world, I guess. Some people could say it's like, negative and stuff, obviously, because like I think that like, like I genuinely just can't look at the way we're supposed to live, like work, commute to your office and then work for somebody and then go home in a car wait in traffic and then go home and go back to a place that you've been, and it has to be nice, otherwise you're dirty and you're a failure or something. It's like, and then I just like reject that so much. I just think that is like such an insane thing that like in the future people will look back on this time and be like, can you believe that people live that way? They had them all convinced that this is like the way, that you have to like go produce bullshit for somebody else, and then they give you a little money.
It's also fucked up too because we know it. Like, we know it because like think about like, I don't know, I always go back in my head to like zombie movies, right? Or like some post-apocalyptic kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Because then obviously all the people who survive start realizing what life's really about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like we know what it's about, but we just still keep doing the stuff.
Right. Yeah, because we're forced.
Yeah, I know, but we don't have to. Like, almost sometimes it seems like it would be better to live in like a little. Think about if it was a zombie apocalypse, but no zombies and nothing to worry about, right? And we just had a little neighborhood where we grew food.
Yeah, right. Just imagine being like,
and like we had a water filtration system in the neighborhood, and we just, hung out, and we like had barbecues and hung out with our friends.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like right. Later, like I don't know if you watch Walking Dead, but like the later seasons of Walking Dead, they have like a whole little village set up.
Oh, okay. I saw up to the part where they were in like the jail, I think.
Oh, okay. You didn't get up to that. They have this place called, I think it's called Sanctuary or something like that. But
okay, actually no, I saw where
that actually might be Fallout 4, but whatever.
There's the governor or something like that. I remember. That's like the last
that's another town. Okay. Oh, that was early on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't watched it in years, so.
Yeah, that makes sense because that was years ago.
Yeah.
But then obviously also it's always like then there's some like rival group that wants to like mess it up.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I want to figure out how to overcome.
Right, exactly.
Because at first it's like the rival group is one of the rival groups would be like It's a resource thing, right? About controlling the resources.
Yeah.
And then there's like there was another rival group that was just kind of resentment and like chaos.
Gotcha.
You know, so kind of like there's a lot of different reasons why people would want to destroy the utopian way of like living.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really feel like a lot of them go to like, because it's interesting. Okay. For the sake of argument, right?
Okay.
If everybody, I don't even know if I want to say this on stream, to create a utopian society, right? What if like, we had like a walled off, we'll say walled off city, right? And we wouldn't allow anybody in that wasn't 100% down with that city.
Okay.
But whatever it means.
Oh. Hold up. Discord is like frozen.
It's necessary, but not allow them in. From that town, be like, were you able to hear me?
Oh no, Discord just froze. But my computer is like going
It's okay.
nuts right now. What the hell?
The stream was still. Oh no! Now the stream.
Why does this happen? Okay.
It's all good.
All right. I'm frozen now. I'm not on.
That was from before. That's what you look like at me for a little while.
Hold on. Let me just switch
just
the
dead
scene.
Staring.
Nope, still looking like it. Okay, it's back.
Okay, good.
All right. So annoying. But yeah, okay, so only let people in if they're 100% down.
Yeah, and then after years and years of or a couple of generations of like raising people with a utopian mindset, do you think that there would ever be a situation where somebody would want to destroy the utopia? Probably, I guess, or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think that. Yeah.
What does that hurt?
What?
What does that urge about? I guess like every once in a while they just have things have to get shaken up.
I think it's like I think it comes from just like people feeling unheard and unfulfilled and things like that, whatever. Like if there's a society that's actually functional and it's like doing well and people are able to like live dignified lives and stuff like that, I feel like the reason why people would want to mess it up, you know what I mean? Say it's the whole world, right? Like the whole world just, we're in the future and the whole world agrees like we got to move to something else, and we got this great decentralized good way of living, and it's just very, what you would want, what you would imagine to be great. I feel like the reason why, like, there's no shortage of supplies and stuff like that. Like everybody's fed, everyone's housed and taken care of and has medicine, whatever. And they have like, they're not just like slaving away. They're like, able to choose what they want to do with their life, right? You'd like ideally, I would think like, oh, well, people would just like be happy to be in that situation. But I do believe, like, I'm telling you, like I think it's, I don't know. I could be just like I don't know. People are just people at the end of the day, and it's like I really believe that like so many of the issues that go on come from like, we joke about it a lot, but like it comes from like, getting called, getting not feeling like you're not like the man your dad wanted you to be, or like, like the girl who broke your heart. You're like, I'm gonna like, fuck it, like. Honestly, or just like when you're young, like if you're like a victim of anything or whatever, like, or just your circumstances, like there are certain aspects that like you can't really, or whatever, even if you get like bullied or something like that, it's like I honestly can see a situation where someone's like, because what else besides some kind of like traumatic experience would lead someone to be like, just me, I've decided that I am different from every other living human being, and I deserve to be in a commanding position to inflict my will upon other people in a way that, like, if they don't want it, I don't care. Like, because this is what we want. Like it's one thing to be like, I don't know. It's just like,
Well,
you
I
know
guess
what I'm
like
saying? I don't know.
in my utopian society, there that the mental health stuff I feel like would be taken care of to the best of its ability, because it would be like open conversation would be the norm. So
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
if there was any people that were struggling, it would be known and would be able to be like, 'cause that's, I mean, honestly, I really think like actual community would be the key to it
I do agree.
working. You know, it doesn't have to be. I'm not thinking about like some like faux like there's no problems here at all,
Mm-hmm.
but there's problems and they're handled in like a meaningful and real way, and not just like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, he's just
Yeah.
troubled.
Right, but just like even something like this, like I'm curious. Like, I don't know. What do you think would happen? Like, how do you resolve these problems, right? So,
Mhm.
whatever, kids are just living their lives, and like, there's little games and sports or something that they play, and like in school, like, or whatever, they're in like whatever, like, I don't know, like just things like there's like a taller, more like strong boy or something, and he like embarrasses the like another kid who's like weaker or something like that by like, I don't know, whatever, just like trying to be cool or like whatever. They're just playing a sport or something, and he just like embarrasses him, and like he's like kind of a douche about it, and like kind of humiliates him in front of other people. And
Mhm.
to that person, that might feel like a huge deal, like, like, oh. And then you know how it is when you're younger, like, not that I really experienced something like that specifically, but like, I don't know, like when you're younger, like you get home from school sometimes and you just kind of like have this feeling of like, you're not worried about like,
Yeah.
when I'm 40 something years old, what's my 401k gonna look like? You're worried about like, I'm gonna be good at skateboarding, or I'm gonna like really like get good at guitar, and I'm gonna like play in front of people, and it's gonna be so cool. You know what I mean? You think that that's like the
Yeah.
most important thing in the world, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, so a situation like that where you're like embarrassed in front of people like that, I don't know. Basically, like what I'm trying to get at is, what do you do from there? Because ideally it would be the type of thing where like being like that kind of a bully, like kind of making the kid feel bad about something, would be
Mhm.
met with like a response like all the other kids would be like, what is wrong with you? Why are you acting like that? And they would be upset at the other, like the bully or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm just using bully. Like, it's like, but what if that doesn't happen? Or what if it's just like, what if like, I don't know. What if
Well,
that?
I would try to, if I was really forming the society from like the ground up, it would be something that takes place over the course, and it would have to be everyone who had to be really down with it at first.
Yeah.
Seriously. So like it would be something that was whenever I talk about a true utopian future, it's a full mindset shift into like actively caring about this kind of stuff. So it would really be like from both sides. Like the likelihood of that bully be acting that way would be really low, and the likelihood of that kid feeling ashamed for not being able to compete with somebody would be all really low as well. It would, because as far as like, you wouldn't champion like winning over somebody as like something that's like the be all end all of how cool you are at
Yeah.
school. It would
Yeah.
be like, how well you collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what you're using the term utopian a lot, and like I agree. Like for like a utopian society, yeah, it would have to be like that. I guess my point is that like you can't like make everybody think like that,
No,
So like
I think it would. But I think that over time you can shift enough people. Like that's the kind of what we've talked about in the past. Like enough people start like looking down on certain types of behavior, and like, or not engaging with certain types of behavior, and then like it becomes normal, and then like, still obviously some people do, but it
mhm.
becomes less. It's the same way with like um anything bad. It's still there's always still parts of it there, but it's way less normal and like acceptable to engage with it.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
is that. Yeah, yeah,
but like even like like weed for example, it used to be like really demonized, and now like it's not weird for like
yeah,
most people. Even like conservative types are like, yeah, whatever. I don't smoke it, but
yeah. That is pretty much true.
I can see the benefits of it
Right,
or whatever.
but yet you would still have like, you would still have some people who are like,
And that was a quick shift.
what do you mean?
Honestly, I just
Oh,
thought
with all that,
the weed
yeah.
one from like everyone being like, "Whoa, that is like hardcore drugs," to
I know.
like yeah, no, I smoke a joint when I get home. It's all good.
Yeah. But like, look, you just now, okay, so you're in a good future or whatever, and people have like good attitudes. Now, what if someone just comes along and just like is like, I'm a philosopher who has a different outlook. I believe in free thought, and this homogenization of like values is just a plague on society, and really what we want is free thought, and they like sell it that way, like they present it that way. And
Yeah,
it's like,
which is what's currently happening.
right, exactly. So, but like someone just comes along and does the same old shit and says things like, "Oh, moral, using marijuana or doing premarital sex is moral degeneracy, and you need to actually live a life of commitment to like a, whatever, some kind of
to me
idealistic
and
thing."
making products.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then
Oh
that
no, I
happens,
definitely think it's possible, and I believe honestly that people are going to choose their own fate. I just think that mine's better.
yeah, agreed.
It's
Yeah.
like, not that I'm in a position to really enact this in any way, but I think that, like I always say, like I I think it's good to be, because a lot of people like talk shit about utopians.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I don't think it's not like I'm like that's the only thing that I want, but it's like I'd rather like have a vision of like what a good future or what my ideal future would look like, to aim for that, and
Yeah.
obviously not reach it, and like maybe like convince like 10 people around here to like be nicer to people, or like be more
Yeah.
understanding. It's like I'm fine with that.
No, yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Like, I know that that's what you mean when you say that. Like, you're not literally like, I demand a utopian society. Like it's this way or
Yeah.
no way. It's just like, what is the best way that we could go about things, and like, how close
You
can we
know what I
get
was-
to it? Like,
Exactly. I had this idea when I was walking around. Like this exists already, I think, in a way. Like condos,
yeah.
right? Where like it's like everyone, like the building is like owned by the tenants.
Oh, like a co-op.
Oh, a co-op. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, usually those are like condos, basically. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So I was
think.
thinking about that, but like on like a grander scale lately, where like, what if there was like like basically like a housing union?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think now we're getting into the territory of like, that's like the goal. Like, it should be, that's the getting rid of private ownership of property, and instead having like it be, you have public land that is that can be used as like, personal property as it's used. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they should just take another look at the way that all of this is. I mean, well, it's not like it's like for lack of, awareness of it. I mean, I think for most people it is, because their gut reaction with all this stuff. The propaganda has worked so well that it's like, if you mention anything that sounds remotely different from like the status quo neoliberal capitalist way of doing things, it is like you're like associated with like mass genocide and stuff. If you're talking about like, I think that people should have more say over like their lives, like that,
and they're like,
equals
the only reasonable conclusion to that is genocide.
Right. It's like we live in a world where people take themselves seriously, and others take them seriously when they are the type of person to go around. Not the type of person, they do go around, and if you say something like, yeah, I believe that, like, collective bargaining through like unionization in most aspects of life, causing a democratic like actual democracy in your lives. Yeah, I think that people should be able to do that and organize for those purposes and live like dignified lives. These people unironically seriously make that connection, like as if it's just duh. Like they make the connection to like, don't you remember the famines that Stalin caused? Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything like that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I could see if I was saying like, you know, they should implement a vanguard party to go in and do a single party dictatorship that's going to like rule over like they're with imperialist goals and stuff. Yeah, if you say that, then sure, you know, duh. But like, what the fuck does like people owning the things that they live their lives interacting with, like to the extent that they do interact with them, how is that? What does that have to do with that? It's just, but people don't know, and with that thing, it's like those people act like they know stuff, like they think that the pursuit of knowledge is important and stuff like that a lot of the time, and yet with anything else, could you imagine if someone was like, oh, did you know that you know, there's like billions of stars in every galaxy? They're like, there's literally one star, the sun. Like, are you kidding me? It's like, if you don't know about something, it's not normal to be like, you're an idiot, how could you think that?
Yeah.
My limited scope of knowledge about some complex topic is the only way. It's like, why not if you don't know, then why not just be like, oh really, why? Like, you know, like, I know.
Well, you were right. You know, it's really they think that they know. That's the thing.
Right. That's the sad part, because
they think that they don't know that they don't understand what they're talking about. They think that they already have the answers. And it's
right.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, I saw this fucking video last night. It was your boy. We've watched him on Kyle Klinsky.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was a clip of Kyle Klinsky talking to good old JP.
I've seen it.
And you saw that clip?
Yeah.
About the trans stuff?
Yeah, to be honest, when I was describing people who think that they would know what they're talking about, but they clearly don't, but they treat it like I'm an intellectual who does, I was thinking about that.
Oh, so I picked it up. I picked it up. Perfect.
Yeah,
dude, that was fucking wild.
It was mind-blowing. I was genuinely I genuinely thought, like, did this guy have like a stroke and like he didn't realize it?
Honestly
I'm not
think
kidding.
Something happened. Yes,
like,
seriously.
Yeah.
Or he's just so like I use the term Twitter brained a lot talking about him, because like especially at first when he started going here, I was like, I feel like he's just getting like roped into all this stuff because he's like constantly on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and he's like, you're wrong, and it's like, no,
right?
What do you mean?
That's another one.
What?
Yeah, that topic too. Yeah, it's like, it's so convenient.
And he's doing his like, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. It's so convenient how the very same people who I just kind of described, like these pseudo-intellectuals who act like they have the answers and, oh, well, this is just the way it is, don't you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you literally, like, these concepts are not that complicated. Obviously, the whole way of organizing an entire global economy or something, or just like, you know, integrating community-based economies into a global trade system or something, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm just saying, like, there are complicated aspects to it, obviously. It's probably one of the most complicated things that people can face. Is like, how do we make it so that every person has, like, a shot? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like, you know, I mean, like a chance at life being good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's complicated. But to just sit there and be like, you know, someone mentions like, oh yeah, I don't think that we should have like people owning like an entire company and like stealing people's like the money that they the value of what they produced with their labor and stuff. It's like, oh my God, don't you know that Karl Marx is responsible for like, you know, hundreds and thousands of millions of deaths? Like, oh God, it's like that is like wow, I can literally just go on a fucking, that's like me being like, I don't know. It's the same exact thing as someone being like, oh my God, COVID is caused by 5G. It's like, I read it, so it's true. I don't really know what it is. I don't understand what the words I'm saying mean, but it's true. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's the same people using the same bullshit arguments for everything they don't understand, or that they do understand, but their goal is to make it so that
Yeah.
people are against it.
That's-
And that
honestly, like, I
transgender
wouldn't be
stuff too. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone was giving him money. Like, seriously,
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would almost guarantee it. I mean, maybe I wouldn't say guarantee it, but I mean,
to be like, just turn it up a little bit. You know, like,
yeah. Well, he joined
know?
like the Daily Wire too.
I know. And once I saw
So-
that, I was like, oh, he's
right.
gone.
Now
He's
his
gone.
job is to be a right-wing propagandist, just straight
Yeah.
up. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, but it's like, you know, whatever. Who's invested in the Daily Wire and stuff? You know, it's like, I don't know. You can just use Fox News as an example. It's like Rupert Murdoch starts a TV channel and hires people to do what the goal is, right? You know, and it's like,
Mhm.
why is it's different because the guy's using a webcam instead of a fucking news studio? You know, it's like things like that happen too, especially when it's so transparent. Like it's so easy too. That's the weird thing. It's like it's so easy to use like their rhetoric compared to like the rhetoric that like would have to be used to like make the points that like, you know, we try to make. But no, I'm not saying like we came up with all this stuff or anything. It's just
okay.
like how much easier is it to just be like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Gay people actually just see other gay people and then or, you know, straight people see a gay man
Oh my god.
and then they become gay. If a child sees a transgender person, they're going to want to be transgender.
It's like, how do we become right wing left propagandists? How do we sneak in?
Dude,
how
I've
do we
literally
get
thought
how do we
about
get
that.
invited onto Fox News and to like say stuff with like the gumption and just like have everyone agree with us and then be confused as to why?
I've literally thought about that before. I'm like,
How?
damn, I should
That's such a good
seriously
idea.
start a YouTube channel where I've literally thought I should just try to make like a funny, like, this is so stupid, but it's like I'm almost embarrassed to even admit this, but it's crossed my mind. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I should make like a bunch of like stupid like memes or something to try to get a lot of attention on the internet just from like a random source. Like, you know, like people don't assume that it's tied to anything, but then somehow link that to like a YouTube channel where I am like, you know, just some clean shaven white guy with the, you know, I'll put a little product in my hair and make it look all nice and wear like, you know, like some whatever. I don't know, just like some normal, just try to look as like generic as humanly possible and just be like just make like the same easy dumb bullshit arguments that they make but then like just like sprinkle on like, yeah, people like, you know, these crazy Democrats want to have the government have more power. Are you kidding me? The government doesn't deserve any power. Look at things like this, and then like point out like the insane things that have been done that like people don't like think about. Like, can you believe that? Like, you know, whatever. Like, their CEOs receive 350 times more than their average workers, whereas in Norway they receive 11 times more, and people have they say that they're living better lives. It's like, and the government lets this happen. Why are we letting the government steal from our pockets and hand it to CEOs and stuff like that? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, put a spin on it to get them to be like, oh yeah, what the fuck? Like, and then, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of try
That's the thing too, like, and that's part of like, honestly, like what I want to do even with this is like, obviously that you were doing that more, you know, gusto, right wing flair.
Sure.
But like generally like talking about things in like ideally a neutral kind of way where you're not like where it's not like, oh yeah, we are leftists who speak about leftist stuff and you know,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
I want it to be more like accessible than that and more like, here are things.
Yeah. Right, because that is one thing. Like,
there's a correct answer to what to do about it.
It is so weird because yeah, right, exactly. Like, and it makes me feel sad because it does make me feel like discouraged a little bit when I see things that are just like, it just is like truly shocking to me. Like, I see like, you know, we talked about this last night a little bit, like about like, I don't know. You see like Josh Hawley asking like some law professor about, oh wow, that was already. An hour? Damn, that flew by.
Yeah.
All right. You gotta go
can,
take care of
if
them?
you wanna do just a Matthew screen, you're more than welcome to.
I would, but I have to pee anyway. So maybe if I get back before you, maybe I'll hop on. I don't know.
I'm going to go get my laundry, so we'll be back in a moment.
All right. See you soon.
Bye. Be back.
Yeah. Not bye permanently. All right. All right, we're back.
All right. I have a question.
Let's hear it.
How many people do you think put their laundry away right after they finish doing it? Maybe 10,
Yeah,
15?
I was gonna say like between 8 and 12, something like that.
Yeah. That's what I would.
Yeah. But yeah, I've recently become one of those people, but
Hell yeah.
yeah, just because after having stacks of laundry on this dresser behind me. Oh my god, why can't I do this? This dresser behind me. I like for a long ass time. Honestly, actually, weirdly enough, part of the reason why I started putting my laundry away right away is because of this. Because it was too annoying to have to move it out of the way every time. So I was like, let me just put it away so I don't have to move it later. And I guess that's
there's
good.
one benefit of the Pineman.
Yeah, there you go. See, if you just
Changing lives.
check it out, and it'll lead to positive outcomes. Just kidding. But yeah,
As the great Jordan Peterson once said,
clean your room, right? He's yeah, exactly. And clean your room apparently means that when someone says, no, like the whole thing is just to say, if someone is like an adult and they're like, yeah, I want to live my life in this way because it feels, this is just who I am.
mm-hmm.
No, that's moral decay, and that's going to seep into every aspect of the fabric of a society or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's cultural Bolshevism and modern it's neo-Marxist postmodernism. Like, what?
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, that idea alone, like, the fact that allowing trans people to exist somehow, like, perverts the minds of children and forces them to want to become transgender is insane.
No, I know. That's the problem, man.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure, like, it happens once in a while. But the amount that it happens is probably low.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
very low. Yeah. People who actually like go through with like surgery and everything to like, and then later regret it. I think it's like 10 people.
Right. Yeah. I think the overwhelming majority of people just are like, it's like just universally known that like people who, I mean, like I literally know somebody like this, but that's whatever. That's not, take that with a grain of salt. But like on the broad scale, like it is just universally known that like people who are accepted, the number one determining factor about a transgender person being like happy with their life or not happy with their life is whether or not they have support from people close to them and like they're accepted and like they're believed about like how they are. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. And is that really so hard to do? Like,
yeah, it's fucked up because like people make mistakes or people like live one way for a while and then they decide I'm not happy living this way anymore.
Yeah.
That happens all of the time with other things.
Right.
Like people like, I mean like divorce was a big thing for a long time, but like now it's like pretty reasonable to get divorced. Like, it's like you made a choice, you got to stick with it. It's like, no, it's like, it's okay.
Right.
It's like feelings change, people change, things change, but it's like, it's a more so obviously like you're saying about like, just respect what I'm doing.
Right.
A little bit.
Yeah. And even if you do personally like think it's weird or something like that, if you're just a dumbass or something, like go ahead and just be a dumbass. Like it's fine. You could just think that, but just stop going around and being like, we need to legislate based on this and make it be like illegal and like cause like outrage.
It's just embarrassing, honestly, because it's the same moral shit that happens like every few years with different stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even like even in a lighter way, like rock and roll music,
exactly.
and like Marilyn Manson for a long time was like, literally like people were like protesting all of his shows and all this burning his records in the street.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, for what? What did he do? It's like what were they? So nothing happened. Right. Some people like Marilyn Manson now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
We have adult goths. Ah, ooh. I know they're hard to look at sometimes, but
Oh, we have what?
adult goths.
Oh, goths. Yeah, exactly. It's funny you say that because I was gonna. The way I kind of think of it is like, okay, you're so worried about what if some kid transitions and then regrets it later in life. What is the what is the massive issue there? It's people like you, not you, but the very same people that are complaining about that, treating it like this is your life is destroyed. You have destroyed yourself and you'll never be the same and all this stuff. It's like, what if you just look at it the same exact way as you would be like, even if in this hypothetical scenario, some person's like, oh, I transitioned and I regret it, which I mean, it has happened, but like you said, it's not like a big amount. But like, what if you just look at it like the same, treat it the same as if someone was like, oh yeah, I went through like a goth phase in high school. No one would be like, oh my God, your parents who allowed you to buy those UFO pants to belong in prison. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's just, that was, it's like, I don't know. It seems like such common sense rather than condemning a whole group of people for being like, just like, oh, I just want to be able to live my life freely in a way that doesn't hurt anybody. Well, they'll argue that it does hurt people because it leads people to make choices that are gonna.
Well, I think the thing is, it's like, I think there already are like laws around surgeries generally.
I think you're right.
I think you have to be over 18 to do that anyway.
Probably,
so it's
maybe.
like,
I don't know enough about that.
I think worst case scenario, like you take hormone blockers.
Right. And then if you want it, you could just stop taking them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't know, man, because there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Sure. I'm not trying to say that, like, I think there definitely are people who suffer from, what is it called?
Gender dysphoria.
Yeah. And that's perfectly understandable. That makes sense. It makes sense from a biological standpoint as well.
Sure.
At least to me. And but then I'm sure, like, as with everything, there's always like a trendy aspect to stuff as well. But like, to assume that somebody would go through all that it would take of them to go through in order to just be like cool, I think that's like kind of insane.
I know. I agree. I agree. And even if,
because like, sure, like there's definitely people who like dress androgynous or feminine or masculine, and will probably end up being a phase of their life.
Sure.
Maybe, or maybe not. You know what I mean? And like, but still, like, there should never be it's like with tattoos and shit too. Like, people for the longest time, everyone like made a big hullabaloo about tattoos.
Yeah.
You'll never be able to get a job.
Yeah.
If you have tattoos.
Right.
Pretty much everybody that works has tattoos.
So many.
The entire workforce has tattoos now at our age.
People not that long ago, like, were upset about women, outside the home. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
They thought that was going to cause moral decay. They thought people. I mean, look around the world. It's like people say this stuff, but it's so true. Like, look at all the very same things that these, these people who know what they're, they have the answers, what they believe in. It's the same as like the same fundamentalist, like Al Qaeda type stuff, or like Taliban type stuff. It's seriously the same. Like, they genuinely don't want like women like going out and living their lives and being free and stuff, because that leads to they should be mothers for their children and they need to raise strong boys. But like, so the father should be at work providing and the mother should be at home raising the child and all this stuff. And it's like, but then at the same time, it's like, oh, okay, cool. So like, what if there's like a family who's like willing to adopt a child, but like it's two women or something like that? It's like, no, they need a male figure in their life. And it's like, no, I don't know. It's like, how do you know? Like, how do you think you know what's going on in every household? Like, they want to be like, that's the thing. It genuinely feels like it's just a strategy that like they must know that it's bullshit, right? Like, I don't know if they do. Like, they either, but it just feels so insane to be like, I believe that the right answer is to make it so that every single decision in every single human being's life is at the hands of the parents. Unless it's something that the child actually, like, expresses and wants. Then the government should be telling them, that's illegal. No, you're not allowed to do that. Like, you know? Like, such as, like, oh, I want to dress this way or take these, you know, I want to not go through, you know, I don't want to. If you're, like, whatever. It's a weird concept. It's weird that this is even discussed as, like, a political issue, because it doesn't seem like it even should be, but it's like, and I don't mean because it's not important, I mean because it's just common sense. Like, I don't know, if a kid is having, like, suicidal thoughts or something, what do? You bring them to a mental health professional and have them, like, you know, work with the doctor and, you know, all this stuff. If a kid has, like, diabetes, you bring them to the doctor and have them discuss things.
Yeah.
If a kid feels like, oh, you know, whatever, I'm transgender. It's like, just do the same thing. Treat it like, okay, let's figure out where to go next. Like, let's talk to a professional and, like, talk to somebody who is, like, an expert on this stuff.
Right?
But you got to realize, these psychopaths believe that there's this, like, grand conspiracy to, like, destroy Western values, and they've infiltrated the schools, and the professors are planting seeds of neo-Marxist ideas into the students, so then when they graduate, they become doctors who believe in all this crazy degeneracy. It's like, what if you're just a dumbass? Did you ever think of that? It could either be a global conspiracy, or maybe you're just wrong about something. And you could just say, like, oh, wait, actually, like Jordan Peterson, the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Well, you know, that's hard to, sorry, I hear a lot of dumb things, but, like, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life is when, in that interview you were talking about, Kyle Kalinski's like, well, with, like, homosexuality, like, once gay people started being more accepted in society, more people started, like, just being like, yeah, I am gay. And they live their lives without fear of being, like, disowned or, like, killed or whatever, which still does happen or whatever. But it's like, it's less. And the fact that Jordan Peterson is like, no, like, so aggressively and, like, so self-assuredly being like, that's wrong. That's flat out wrong. And it's like, he's like,
can we watch a little bit of that?
Yeah, actually, let's do it. He's genuinely arguing that, like, people saw gay people and they're just totally straight. See, this is the argument that they all make. It always leads back to the same thing. Dude, do you actually think that a straight dude sees a gay dude and is like, wow, I'm 100% straight and I am just a straight man. That's because that's just who I am. And I saw that gay dude and now I want to be gay. Like, if that happens, you're gay. And that's fine. It's all good. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
I know.
Like, that's not, I just, it's so stupid. Like, it's just so stupid.
It literally doesn't make sense.
Right. God.
Yeah, let's watch this again. I think it'll be more fun to rip it apart.
Yeah.
Piece by piece.
Where is it?
Because it was literally so absurd.
Right. Agreed. Okay. Let's see.
And he just, like, he's deteriorating, this man. You know, feel bad for him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's mind-blowing. All right, I gotta put the scene in here. All right.
Ooh-wee.
Look at me. I don't know if that's what you're going for. But...
Looking for some sympathy. I always sing that in my head when I think of that. Because I thought that about Jordan Peterson right there.
Looking for some sympathy or just woo-wee?
Looking for some sympathy.
Oh, yeah. Because I agree. This is a real woo-wee moment. But yeah. Okay.
Ooh-wee. Oh, also before you said take this with a grain of salt. If we could just start saying take it with a squirt of lime, I would appreciate it.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah, let's go with that.
I thought that before, and I'm like, let me not interject right now and say
Yeah,
that.
that's called world building right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to get some lore going.
Exactly. All right, let's check out this pillar of intellectual combat right here, known as Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I watched this whole thing unfold too. Him go from from my perspective, reasonable, like, okay, not the best, not like the best take, but like also like a reasonable stance. And then like his other conversations and his lectures, and then his later podcasts, and then more podcasts, and then watching some podcasts for a while and being like, I don't think this dude really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I was like, oh no, yeah, it's. I watched it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
And then he just says the same stuff over and over again. And he has like 5 things that he says.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, he's just figured out that if you say these 5 things, then you sound smart.
Yep.
You don't actually, and those 5 things are fine to say, but like, how long can you do that for before you have to start grifting for the right wing? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's just,
and then he uses those same tactics here too. And I'll if I
okay,
see
yeah, cool, yeah. All right, let's get into it. Here we go.
So I noticed just the other day you were banned from Twitter. Now, you know, I'm somebody, nobody can argue against my lefty credentials. Everybody knows I'm a man of the left. Having said that, my solution on this issue of social media censorship has always been, look, we need to expand First Amendment protections. And the way you do that is to regulate these big social media companies like they're public utilities. So if you do that, then you basically you're saying this is the new public square and people can speak their mind here. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, you can't, dox people or do direct threats of violence or anything that's actually illegal will remain illegal. But outside of that, you can't censor people just based on political opinion. So, I definitely wouldn't have banned you, suspended you, etc. But I do have a question about that specific tweet that did get you in trouble because, you said something to the effect of,
well, I don't know if it got me in trouble. I don't think I'm in trouble. Twitter banned me, but I don't consider that trouble.
That's fair enough. Fair point.
Okay.
But you said something to the effect
Let me derail your point so that I can make like a semantic argument about like your technical wording. Like, it's just like, okay, sweet. All right.
Remember when pride was a sin? But you said something to the effect of, remember when pride was a sin and the criminal physician.
And Ellen Page just had her breasts cut off by a criminal physician.
Exactly. So my question is the physician really criminal? If you agree that adults can decide to transition, then why would the physician be criminal? Don't adults have that right if they want to transition?
Not everything legal isn't criminal. And do they have that right? See, I would have left Ellen Page alone if she hadn't been parading her new abs in a fashion magazine.
Oh my God.
I can't believe like that someone can arrive at that. I genuinely can't believe it.
I would have left her alone. Her alone.
Right.
If she wasn't parading her new abs around in a fashion magazine.
Dude, like, how do you not take a look at yourself?
So you have to do it secretly. You can transition, but you can't tell anybody.
Right, apparently. And it's like, and at the end of the day, it's like, this is one thing that's like, I think that this is what, all these people who end up doing, like, being like this and having this, like, conservative outlook on life and socially, speaking socially, it's like, it's the same thing as, like, that happens in, what, like, fundamentalist Islamic countries. And honestly, it's like, I want to point out that, like, if anyone ever sees this or whatever, like, I find it to be, like, weird when people, it's pointless to even say that. Oh, look, he's acting like a Islamic fundamentalist. No, he's acting like an American conservative. That is what it is. You know what I mean? It's not like this whole thing of, like, I love when people are always like, America's starting to look like, whatever. Like, this isn't America. America's a great nation, and we're acting like a third world country when we do this and that. It's like, but you see what it is. Like, this is America, though. How you can't be like, oh my God, we're like one of those bad countries. That's not us. It's like, no, clearly it is. Like,
we're doing the things.
Right. Part of American culture is that mainstream discussion involves just being a hateful, ignorant human being. Like, it's just, that's just how it is. Like, God. But my point is that, like, this whole thing of, like, the reason I bring up this stuff is because it's the same as when people are like, oh, well, this same discussion of, like, women, wearing provocative clothing causes a problem because it causes all these issues for men and for society. It's like, how can you think that? Do you understand that, like, to a woman who is wearing what you describe as provocative clothing, that woman is just, like, living life? Like, that's just a person just like you. And then, but the problem is, when she goes around and lives her life normally, like you try to do, they have pieces of shit like you going and being like, look at her, that whore. Oh my God, this is horrible. It's like, that's a problem on you. If you can't look at a woman without feeling a sense of, like, it's the same thing. That's how these people are. It's like, you look at a woman and you immediately start thinking about her sexual capability and her, her commitment to a certain man and how that relates to her integrity as a human. It's the same as when these people look at, like, some person with a freaking, in a magazine, I'm guessing. I don't know. What is he talking about with these showing off her abs? Like, what is that? Yeah. Like, it's like, I don't know. I guess like they did a promo shoot or something, or they were in a movie or on a TV show or something. I don't know. But, like, it's like,
and he's had top surgery now.
Right.
And that's probably,
okay,
that's like a big moment.
Oh, what was that? Like a shirtless pic or something like that?
Probably. I mean, we could look it up.
Regardless, it's like, if you see that, just a human being living their life in a way that feels right to them and is right to them, and your thought is like, what about children's genitals? You're fucked up human being, straight up. Like, it's like,
oh my God,
just the same way when you see a girl or a woman wearing a shirt that, like, just is a shirt that is designed, that they bought, that they like, and then they wore it, and you're thinking about what a whore she is or something like that, you're a piece of shit. Like, I don't know. Of course. Yeah, okay.
I just hate that, but then, like, if a dude is, like, jacked and he's in a fashion magazine with his muscles out, like, that's okay to be prideful of that, but it's not okay for some people to be happy with their bodies, but other people, they are allowed to be happy with their bodies. And
right,
I'm pretty sure actually Jordan Peterson actually sells a bust of his own head on his website. So talk about pride. I don't know, dude.
Exactly. And
it's like at a certain point, you're saying one thing. You're just saying one thing that you, like, thinks trans people shouldn't exist.
Right. And then these people see, like, that the wording, they'll get caught up in that. It's like I don't know, actually, in that thing that I was getting at before, when I said, like, Josh Hawley was, like, talking to the law professor, and she was, like, pushing back when he was asking a disingenuous question about, like, you used they were talking about, like, Roe vs. Wade, and he's like, you used the term, something like people capable of pregnancy. You mean women? Like, got him. Like, it's like, you dumb fuck. Like, you are purposely being dumb so that you can prove a point that can't be made if you actually, like, engage honestly. Like, and whatever. It leads to her being some stuff is said, and I agree with what she said. It's just, that's a complicated thing too. But, like, it's like, basically, he's like, she said, like, and denying trans people, like, you're denying that, basically, she said, denying that trans people exist is, like, harmful to them. And he's like, I'm denying trans people exist? And then she, like, kind of throws it back to him, like, well, do you think that men can be pregnant? And he's like, no. And she's like, well, then you're denying it. And he just like either can't understand it or just purposely is choosing not to be like pretending not to understand it so that he could win over his dumbass voter base, which, you know, I'm calling them dumbasses, but they're victims of their circumstances too. It's like,
true.
It's hard to know stuff when you're being just force-fed bullshit 24/7. But it's like,
right.
I don't know. It's just like that's one thing that they always have such a hard time with is the concept of like, oh, denying their existence of the existence of trans people. It's like,
yeah,
dude, if you're saying that, you know, Ellen Page had her breasts removed and stuff, it's like, okay, so you're like rejecting that she's actually a trans man, you know, or you know, he's actually a trans man. It's like you are denying that, and therefore being like, oh, it's just a woman who had a mutilated surgery by a criminal. Like, oh, it's like you. Oh my god, I don't know. It's so stupid. It's so dumb, and it's the easiest thing to understand. It's so easy to understand. Oh god,
well, he gives it away in like the little like his first fucking take is that, you know, some things that are legal are, you know, can still be criminal, which just basically means that he thinks that it's criminal.
Right.
Because, I mean, we get to make, literally, as a civilization, we get to decide what's criminal and what's not criminal.
Right. Right.
You know,
literally,
so it should be criminal.
Right. Because
we should criminalize top surgery.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
As long as that's clear.
But not like breast reduction surgery, because then the boobies will still look nice. Yeah. Like, it's like, what do you...
Not like...
Yeah.
And not if, like, what about cancer, right?
Yeah, exactly. And talking about pride and a criminal physician doing this, and he was showing off his abs or whatever. It's like, I'm pretty sure he got like some kind of hair surgery. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure. And it's like, that's pretty prideful and whatever. And the thing is, do your thing. Who cares? I wouldn't even cross my mind for a second. But it's like, just, I don't know. It's so wild. Like, what is it? Guess what? Anyone can easily make the argument that, like, by you doing that, okay, what if someone starts balding when they're 17 years old, which does happen, and I know somebody who that happened to, and it's like, well, what if you cause them to see this, and now they feel alienated from society because they see prominent figures rejecting their baldingness, and now they feel like they're inadequate. It's like, no one would make that argument. You know, like, I don't know. All right, let's get back into it because it's just crazy. Okay.
Truly.
Yeah.
How many kids do you think she can convince to convert?
None.
1?
Yeah.
1,000? No, not yeah.
No.
Really?
I want to respond to that. I think that with the trans community, it's very similar to the gay community, where back when that first became a big issue, people thought, oh, if we talk about it, if it's in magazines or whatever, we're promoting kids to go down that path. But really what happened is people are who they are. And if they're gay, they just decided to be like, yeah, I'm gay. And they were just more open and honest with themselves. So I don't think you're promoting people to do that.
No,
you're
that's
just
not
saying,
what happened.
if you
You're
are that, it's
completely
okay.
wrong.
Okay. Well,
You're utterly
I'm
wrong.
listening.
There's
I'm
nothing
listening.
about that that's right.
So explain.
Well, there's been an absolute... Look, one of the reasons that I opposed Bill C-16 in Canada to begin with, this pronoun compelled speech bill, was because I knew perfectly well what was going to happen when we introduced confusion about gender identity into the public sphere. Now, the argument was that if we left people with gender...
I'm sorry, I'll go back a bit, but it's like that. We introduced gendered confusion into the public sphere. It's like, they signed a bill, and then all of a sudden that was the day that the first trans person was born. What do you, like? Yeah, all right. I just can't believe it. Like, that bill was signed because there were already people they already were there. Like, you know, like,
yeah.
God.
I know it's the thing is, like, you're fighting. I don't know. It's like these arguments are just embarrassing to me, really, because it's just like, why do you care so much?
Right.
You care because you want things to be the way that you want them to be, which is that there are men and there are women, and that they have to do the things that are male and female.
Right.
And we're not allowed to do anything outside of what we've been doing. You need to get in your box, and you need to be happy in your little box. Stay in there.
Right, and their
Don't
argument.
experiment with your life. Don't even live your life. Really, just go do the thing you're supposed to do. And no,
Right. Basically, the
no.
attitude is just like,
I was doing what I was supposed to be doing for my whole life, and I was never happy. I'm
Right,
finally doing
same.
stuff that I shouldn't be doing, and I'm happy.
there you go, exactly. And
And that's
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 what I
nothing
love.
compared to what it must feel like to finally start living how you want to live.
exactly, yeah, like, God, it's just, I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's just the most insane thing. But I'll
And
keep
the funny
going.
thing too is, like, I feel like he would agree. Anybody would agree with the sentiment as long as you didn't use the words. That's the thing.
What do you mean?
Like, if you were like, there's somebody who's deeply unsatisfied with their life, and if they changed one thing, they would be way more satisfied with their life. Should they change that thing?
Right.
Because I mean, a lot of his stuff is all self-helpy, and it's all about like,
Right.
overcoming your dragons and all this shit, right? It's like,
yeah.
it's about like, it's terrifying to, come out as trans. I'm sure that's a dragon.
Sure.
Come on, Jordan, grow up.
Right. But no, only do it if I personally like it, then you're allowed to do it. Because I personally disagree with this, it should be illegal. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, you can't fight against these things. That never works, and it just makes you look like an asshole.
Right. And they'll turn around and be like, oh, well, I'm actually doing something noble because I'm preventing future children from being exposed to this body, confusion and gender confusion. It's like, well, I mean, you have to accept the fact off the bat in order to arrive at that conclusion that happens, on any meaningful scale. Like, it's like that people see a gay guy and are like, I'm gay now. Well, guess what? That means you're gay. Like, that doesn't mean you're like, I just made this point. But it's like,
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
not gay now. You're gay. You're
right,
gay.
exactly. Like,
You're
and
gay.
you're
gay.
just,
Fine.
instead of living your life pretending, getting married and having kids and then having like a secret boyfriend on the side or going to bars and clubs and meeting dudes and whatever and keeping it secret and being treated like, feeling like you're like a fake person and you're like depressed about it and you're like upset with yourself. Instead, you could just be like, wow, I met this really cool
like
guy
sleeping
and now,
dudes.
yeah, I'm just like dating him and yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, what's wrong with that? Who gets hurt by that? Who gets hurt? The children. It's always the children, but, let's not do anything to help them. Let's just criticize them and say, if you don't fall in line, buddy, you're just like, you're an evil neoclassical Marxist or whatever the fuck he says. Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. All right.
Let's hear more.
Okay.
Happened when we introduced
Here,
the
I'll go.
compelled speech bill was because I knew perfectly well what was going to happen when we introduced confusion about gender identity into the public sphere. Now, the argument was that if we left people with gender dysphoria alone to make their own way and stop torturing them, that we would decrease the mental health load on those individuals. And my analysis as a clinician was that for every one person of that sort that we hypothetically save, we doom 1,000 more as a consequence of confusion and social contagion.
Doom them to what?
I knew the literature
Right.
on psychogenic epidemics. They used to call that mass hysteria, and it's a literature that goes back about 300 years. And often when you introduce social confusion, you can produce a psychogenic epidemic, especially among, generally it's adolescent females who are most susceptible to it. So I thought, oh, well, what's going to happen is we'll produce a psychogenic epidemic of gender dysphoria among adolescent females. And that is exactly what's happened. And it isn't the fact that we've freed up people who are in doubt about their identity to be who they are. That may have happened in a tiny minority of cases. It's absolutely and definitely the case that we've doomed thousands of kids to brutal, mutilating surgery and premature sterility. And we've done that on the altar of our hypothetical moral virtue and compassion. Look, I read a corporate analysis of the trans surgery industry last week. Growth rate projection for you lefty types and your anti-corporatism. Growth rate projection, 15% per year. Invest now. A $350 million business as of 2022, projected to expand to $750 million by 2027.
I'm sorry, but just a $350 million business is not a global pandemic. Like, it's not shifting the fabric of society in a negative way. That's like a $350 million business? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of like an example of something that would be about that size. Like, literally, like, selling like mason jars makes more money than that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that is, and he's like, it's only a very tiny minority of people who actually end up satisfied with the results. It's like, how do you what makes you think that? What, you just made that up? Literally, you just said that because you want it to be true, and in order for your argument to make any sense, that has to be true. So you're just going to say, for a tiny minority of people, it actually works out because he's decided that he knows better than them. So he has decided that, like, even though they say that they feel more, like, they feel better about their life and their outlook is better after transitioning, he knows better. No, you don't feel better. That's the lefty types telling you that this is a good thing. It's like, how the fuck do you know that?
Like, this is the problem that I have with it too. It's the same thing with the abortion shit.
Yeah.
When the right talks about it, they act like it's like not being taken seriously. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, they're just like hacking off body parts because some like 15-year-old kid is like, I'm a girl. So and then they just, like, you know, start hacking stuff off, and they're like, there you go.
Right.
Good luck.
Yep. Exactly.
It's taken dead seriously. It's like doctors that are doing this.
Right.
It's not like, you know, and that's the thing. Like, it's like, I'm sure that sometimes it happens, right? Where, you know, someone regrets getting a top surgery or whatever surgery later in their life. Maybe.
Sure.
You know, but honestly, that's like, and I'm sure there's people who regret getting abortions too sometimes.
Sure.
But that's going to happen, and it's not worth like banning it for the sake that some people are going to be like upset later. That's on them, and it was their choice to do it, and they did it. And if they're happy with it later, that's just the circuit. You know, that's just the.
There are people who regret getting married, and there are people who regret going into a certain career, and there are people who regret buying that car that they couldn't afford, and there's people who regret moving to a new city.
Obsessed with fucking plastic surgery,
right? Exactly.
You know, and that are like just doing random stuff to their body all the time, and we allow them to,
right?
You know, or we allow them to. I don't know. We don't ban it. We don't stop them.
If someone gets a whatever, lip fillers or something like that.
Yeah, or a boob job, right? What if some 18-year-old gets a boob job?
Right, exactly. What are you doing?
Should we disallow that too? I'm sure Jordan would be perfectly satisfied with that.
Right. They are feeling that they want to change something about their body, and they're doing it in a way that's like generally considered acceptable. Yeah. And that's just like, you know, I mean, you know, I can't really relate obviously, but it's like there's an element of like aesthetic to that, but there's also probably like a feeling of like, you know, it just makes me feel like this is more like what I want, you know, and or who I am, or just whatever. And there's many different aspects to that, and people are complicated. You can't just be like, oh well, people do that for this reason. It's like you're talking about just a big scale of people, a big spectrum of people who have different upbringings, come from different areas. Probably a lot of them aren't even political at all. They're not like, I literally heard some guy talk about, that's what I love. It's like, with all this, like, relating everything to leftists and Marxism and stuff like that. It's like, so some guy wrote a book about, some guys had this idea that, like, maybe, like, the people shouldn't own everything and then make other people work for them and then take their money. So that means that led to people getting people transitioning. I just can't believe that someone can arrive at that conclusion. I can't believe it. Like,
no. The Marxism thing is a big stretch. It's more of a postmodern thing, but like, things don't have to be one way.
Okay. And what? that it's just sorry. It just it's shocking
it's-
to me that people would argue against like, no, keep it the way it is. Like, dude, you would be
Well, that's
you'd
literally
be
the
out there
meaning of
saying
conservative.
this dude would be out there like saying that, well, 300 years ago there were studies done and it said that certain races have different skull shapes and that's why we can't allow them because then they'll bring degeneracy upon this. You'd be doing that.
Yeah.
You'd be saying in a small amount of cases there may be some Jewish people who don't actually want to create a global cabal to take over destroy the Western world. That's why Adolf is doing a great thing out here. Like, seriously, like that's you. You know what I mean? Like, you are on that side consistently, and like all of them are, and they don't see it. It's like, what are you going to associate like the line of thinking of saying it? What do you associate like people who are like, no, like defend the rights of trans people or whatever? Who's that associated with? Who else has like defended the rights of a marginalized group? Okay, what are you going to lump people into? Oh, you're just like Martin Luther King. You're just like Abraham Lincoln and Harriet Tubman and whatever. You're just like the people who fought the Nazis. Like, you're just like it's
Karl
like
Marx.
you're just like them. Oh my God, it's like that's the natural conclusion there. You're just like the people who wanted women to be able to vote and have rights. You're just like the people who wanted there to not be a whatever, like
It's
all this stuff.
It's literally deranged. It's
Whereas with them, it's like you're just like the other side of that. You know what I mean? You're just like the people who fought for slavery. You're just like the people who wanted women not to be able to have rights and stuff. It's the same exact thing. And
it's like they don't pay attention at all.
right, but this time, this is different. This time, it's different. It's exactly like some fucking boomer being like, oh, this rap music is the devil music. When they were young, their parents told them that Led Zeppelin was devil music. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you're just the same thing. How do you not see it? It's so pathetic. But
It's so pathetic.
but that's the thing. I mean, I feel like a characteristic that you need to have in order to buy into this bullshit is you need to have this like just they probably don't even realize they do this, but like they're looking at the world from the point of view of like, I know already. Like, I pretty much know what's going on already. So like, if I feel it and I think it, then it's right. And like, like, because it just goes against logic. Like,
well, I mean, literally the way that this specific man speaks is like, as if he's figured it out.
Right.
He knows
exactly.
the truth.
Exactly.
And like, maybe he knows a truth that works for him.
Sure.
Maybe, gets him out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Maybe. If it doesn't seem like it really does, but I don't know, man.
I can't believe. I mean, I can. It's like, I always think, like, I can't believe one single person would agree with this. But I can believe it, but only because we're conditioned to do that. Like,
I think it's perfectly reasonable to think that, like, there's something to classic gender roles and blah 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 and all that.
Right. If you think that,
be like you're not allowed to do something, I think is always wrong.
Right.
I think it's perfectly reasonable. Like I said before, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be a person who's like, I think trans people are weird. I think it's a weird thing to do.
Sure, if you think that.
But I think it's a totally different thing to be like they shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's exactly like you just said.
That's the thing. I think it's fun. Like, it's perfectly fun to not like agree with or understand other people's choices, but you just let them make them.
Right. If you're a guy, if you're a girl, if you're a woman who's like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom and raise the kids while my husband goes to work and I cook him dinner and then he gets home and I make sure he's comfortable and stuff. Like, if you want that, do it. Who cares? Like, go for it. Like, whatever.
Yeah, the people, the progressive left isn't saying that they should not be allowed to do that anymore.
Exactly. Right? But they're turning around and saying that you should have to do that. Like, not literally. I mean, some of them literally say that, but like, it's the same argument with this. It's like, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to, like, I don't know. But then they have to make up all these things about how, like, oh my God.
Well, it comes from this thing of like with the, like literally like it's going to, like take away something from their life if it's allowed or if it's normalized. sexist.
Just like gay marriage is
Just
going to
never
ruin
think-
marriage for the rest of us. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Right?
It's made up.
It's so goofy.
Yeah. So stupid. God, they're like they that's it. Seriously, it's like they think that like I guess it makes sense. Honestly, I guess it's starting to make a little more sense. They think that when someone just sees something,
Hmm.
they internalize it to the point where it becomes their entire identity. And because I guess that is what they do. They see like, oh, in 1950s propaganda commercials, you would show like, you know, the dad going home to the white picket fence and the wife is standing there with a pie baked, and that's the way
Yeah.
it's supposed to be.
think-
Things were good then. It's like, who
I
is it
truly
good for?
believe.
The black
Yeah.
people that weren't allowed to buy homes in those communities, or like you
Yeah.
know, like the Native Americans who were like, you know, it's just crazy. Like,
Honestly, I just thought of a point that I want to say. I truly believe that people like this and who are arguing this hard against it are doing way more harm than people who are like, yeah, yeah, that's fine if you want to do it.
well, I agree, but like
because-
from what point, from what angle?
Because like think about this, right? If you are feeling a little gender dysphoric, maybe you're young, you
Sure,
know,
you're just
you're
starting
like,
to question things. Yeah.
yes, and it's like this hot button topic, right? I feel like that the chances of you being like more inclined to like, especially as a young person, to like fight for
Yeah.
that ability to do that thing while people are telling you you're not allowed, you know, is
Yeah.
like way bigger. So I feel like the people who are going to maybe, you know, overestimate what they want, or like dive headfirst into something that they're didn't fully flesh out, is
Sure.
going to be more likely with people being like this than people being like, oh, that's how you feel? Okay, let's talk about that. Like,
I feel like that's a great point. Yeah.
you know,
Right. Just imagine if it was
So-
just a normal mainstream thing and people were just like, people, you know what I mean? No one would be like, it would be a lot less likely for people to like become radicalized on that thing and then be like, oh, I'm going to do that because I think it's like really a great thing. And I, you know, whatever, it's not actually how I feel, but I just feel lost. And that's the answer.
Yeah.
It's like, if it was just considered like, you know, like people don't,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I agree. It's just, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. If they want to talk about harm reduction, I think harm reduction is not demonizing something,
Yeah.
and you know, hearing people out and having an open conversation, and a relaxed open conversation, and you know,
Yeah.
letting things be as they should be,
Sure.
you know.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's like, I just don't believe this whole thing of like, because trans people exist and are accepted, well, accepted to the extent that they are, which is still a freaking, like, honestly, like a crime against humanity, the amount that they're not accepted. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
but people act like it's like, we've gone too far. It's like, really? We've gone so far that like every single day people are arguing about whether or not these people are criminals and belong in jail and stuff like that. Like, and like, but yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, I don't believe that people in mass are going around being like, I'm a child and I don't get enough attention from my parents, so like I'm gonna literally change my gender just because I just feel like it's a good thing to do, and I actually don't feel like it's right. But I'm gonna convince trained professionals, doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever, and my family and everybody. I'm gonna manipulate them all as like a 12-year-old that this is the right thing for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, what is that? That's you? Like, I don't know. How do you not say that to yourself and be like, shit, maybe I'm wrong about this? I just don't know how
Right.
you know, being the guy who's claiming that that's what's going to happen. That's what happens today. Like, God. I don't know. You want to get back to it? All right, let's do it.
Hell yeah, hit it. I know
No
it's
Moral
insane.
I'll
to
go back
expand to $60 million business as of
Okay.
2022, projected to expand to $750 million by 2027. No moral hazard there. There's plenty of moral hazard
What
there.
what
And that
percentage?
surgery is absolutely brutal.
So, what percentage of
why
the
do you keep
population
saying
do
that
you
same thing?
think, in your conception of how this is
All
unfolding,
surgery
what
is
percentage
brutal
of
in
the
a way.
population
Yeah.
do you think is going to end up being trans at the end of this? Do you think like
It
one day it's
depends on how
going
you
to be like
define it.
70% of the
We know
country is
already
trans?
Well, we know already that about 1 in 5 adolescents now identifies, to use that hated word, identifies as part of the hypothetical LGBTQ plus community.
Okay,
Hypothetical.
right.
Got it.
And I just want like, you don't realize like you look in the mirror and realize you're sitting here. This hated word, identify. What? Why are you so personally angry about that? Like, because someone else is being honest about how they feel about themselves? That's pissing you off as you sit there getting all like self-righteous out here, being like, this hated word. It's like, you're wrong about this, dude. Like, it's literally the exact same thing that he's trying to say to Kyle. It's like, bro, look in the mirror. It's like, God, I don't know. It's just mind-blowing.
I know. It's so
It's
fucking
so
annoying.
personal. Like, he's literally, his argument is basically, I don't like this, and I personally think it's bad, so it shouldn't be allowed. I know he's trying to say it's more like, oh, the future generations will be damned, but like, you're just making that up. Like, you just think that because you think you know stuff. I don't know. It's like you just
literally. He thinks
even
he
the
knows
way
stuff.
he talks about this, he's like, when they did the bill in Canada or whatever, I knew exactly what would happen, and that's exactly what happened. Like, you said that that people are going to be thrown in jail for misgendering people. That has never happened. You said that. That's the first time I ever heard of him. I remember that back in the day when I knew nothing about this stuff. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. They made a law that you can go to jail if you call, what if the person, my mind at the time, I was like, what if what if you just do it by accident? Like, oh my God, you can go to jail? That's crazy, And then it's just like, no, that's just not what it was at all. That's just not what it was at all. Like, but here he is. God.
Yeah.
And you do something like that, and then boom, what happens? You just get gobbled up by like the right wing and just become a media guy. And it's like, what do you want? Like, that's the type of person, that's the type of ideology that they see that and they're like, that's our guy right there. Hell yeah. Like, what? I don't know. And then people look at it and be like, yep, let's go Brandon. Let's go Brandon. That's me. So I agree with that. He said that? Oh, yeah, he seems smart. I agree. Like, come on.
It's so gross.
Right. When I was a kid, people used to throw around, people used to call each other, whatever, homos or something. And it's like, and I know that meant it's bad. So, like, we all know that's bad, right? Everybody says the word and that they mean it in a bad way. So that means it's bad. So, like, why is everyone acting like it's not bad? It's like, you dumbass. Why do you think it's bad? Like, you can move on. It's okay. Like, no one's going to call you that. It's okay. Do whatever you want. It's fine. The only people who are going to call you that is your homies, Yeah, like. Oh God! All right, let's go. Sorry, I can't stop pausing. This is so like just gold as far as like absurdity. Like,
yeah.
All right. 1 in 5 adolescents now identifies, to use that hated word, identifies as part of the hypothetical LGBTQ plus community. So it's 1 in 5. I don't know what the upper limit is. There's a consulting group in the UK now that's claiming there's 150 different genders. There's actually, I suppose, 7 billion different genders, if you want to get technical about it, because everybody's temperament differs. But I don't know what the upper limit is. And I have no idea what the upper limit is for this surgical intervention. We'll see. But I don't find it, I don't find it the least bit acceptable. And if you think that your compassion is demanding that you extend your pity to the LGBTQ plus community at the cost of sterilizing children, you should think again. You're on the wrong side of this, and not in a trivial way.
I would appreciate if you don't ascribe beliefs to me that I don't have. Remember, my original question was
you said earlier in this question that,
I said
that
Elliot Page is an adult, and so do you think that he has the right to transition? That was the original question.
You made some comments after that. Yeah, but as a star and a public figure and a model for emulation,
says who?
She also has the responsibility not to entice confused adolescents into a catastrophic decision before they have the maturity to make that decision.
How is it that that's what I'm saying? Where I was saying like the girl, a woman walks around and like you find her, you basically just find her attractive, and you're like, oh, look at her flaunting her body like that so that she can corrupt men. Like,
Yeah.
that's just called like you imagine if in some fucked up alternate dimension people look at this and they're like, damn, I can't look at that little slut walking around looking all sexy and stuff like that. Like that, like imagine if he couldn't leave the house without people like treating him that way. Would that feel good to you? Like you're just living your life, you know? But apparently, you know, this is, you know, whatever. You can't, whatever. Showing your little neck right here, like that's considered like you're a degenerate. It's like, what do you do? Like you just, and it's not even that. It's not even half the time. It's not even about that. A woman can be completely covered up, and if she just you're attracted to her, you think like, look at her flaunting herself. It's like, that's your problem.
It's insane.
Like, yeah. So to say, oh, she's presenting, or he's saying she, so I keep doing that, but it's like, you know, he's presenting himself in a way that's like, you know, what is it, flaunting and trying to do it for emulation. It's like, what if they're just going around living life and being like, I'm not gonna just like quit my entire career because psychopaths like him might shit on me for being myself. What if they're just like, oh, I'm just gonna live, you know? I don't know.
I know. I want to see I'm looking up that's, oh my god, so.
What is it?
I looked up the Elliot Page abs image.
Okay.
And it's perfectly reasonable.
Let me see. I am curious. It's so stupid that I even have to type this into the thing. That's like, let's see this horrible thing. This terrible, horrible thing. Okay, so someone took a selfie.
Yeah.
And the abs,
it's a problem.
The abs are popping. Let's be honest. And it's like, I don't know. I just can't imagine seeing this and being like, this is a thing that's like, this is like a huge issue that's like, this deserves to be talked about in a serious way. All it really comes down to is just say what you really mean, which is, oh, that's weird to me. I find that weird. I have not seen something like that before. All right.
Right?
No problem. I mean, you know, then you can go on to either shut up about it or try to learn about it or something like that, and whatever.
I don't
How
know.
is that?
I don't understand.
Not to mention, it's like, I don't know. What? I don't remember being like 7 years old, like thinking about dudes' abs and how much I want to, or whatever, like, you know, like, what if I saw, and even stuff like that, like, when I was a kid, or when anyone is a kid, if you see, like, okay, if I'm a guy and I see a picture of a girl, am I supposed to be like, I wonder what their genitals were like when they were born and if it's any different, and now I want to be like that just because I saw it. I don't, like, it doesn't even make sense. I can't even wrap my head around, like, the logic behind this. It's like, how would you even know? Like, if you're just, like, some kid and you see that picture, you're just going to be like, honestly, the reaction is probably going to be like, put your shirt on, because, like, or maybe not. Or just be like, oh, that's a person. What, are they going to the beach? Are they going to the pool? You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I said, put your shirt on is because, like, I don't know. I feel like it's weird for a kid to, like, even care about, like, a shirtless picture. You know what I mean? Like, why would you even be exposed to that on a big scale anyway? Like, you know what I mean? In your personal life. It's not like, I don't know, dude. Like, what do you, like, I don't know. Watching, you know, what was it called? Whatever, Nickelodeon stuff.
The truth of the matter really is, though, like, the people who are going to be affected by stuff like that simply because it exists, they need more help than outlawing the thing.
That's 100%.
They need something else.
Right.
It's not that.
exactly.
Okay, like that's just that simple. It's like,
And it's like you said, it's not like
and
it's
but
like,
no, but people
Sorry.
want them to be like that as well, though. You know, because that's capitalism, baby. Be a fucking sheep.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So that's the problem.
Right.
And there won't be many people because that's such a thing. But if the few people that do get inspired to do something that they literally don't want to do because someone else did it, you know.
Right. Something like that. Like it's like in these people's minds, it's like some like 10-year-old is like, "Mommy, I think I'm a girl." And then they're just like, "Oh, congratulations. Let's go bring you right to the emergency room and have this procedure done," or something. It's like
Let's start chopping off some
if
body
you
parts.
say that, regardless, like you're gonna go speak with people and like figure out, you know, what's going on there. People who are experts who know what they're doing and study this stuff and actually know what they're talking about, unlike some random dude who just like used to be a psychologist, like, or I guess he technically still is, but like he's just
know.
some dude who talks shit on the internet. Like, what is that? Why would anyone care? I mean, the thing is, it's like, if you're making good arguments, then sure, you can listen to some dude who talks shit on the internet. I mean, be kind of hypocritical if we were saying that, like, there's no value to that, but, like, but, like, the thing is, at no point do you have to listen to, I don't know, it's like, this argument is just so absurd that it's like, yeah, you're literally nothing more than some dude who talks shit on the internet. I don't know, it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to this. I don't know. Like, this is taking like literally an hour. We've watched 6 minutes. Okay. All right.
I just have to say, Jordan, I think it's a little bit of a moral panic. I just don't see some sort of, frenzy of
Okay, what
people
would you
wanting
consider-
to become trans.
First of all, that's a hell of a way to put it.
What?
Why don't
is
you
that?
take a look at the increase in surgical interventions and see what you think? I mean, how many do you think is
Well,
too many? How
Again,
many? Look, if we're talking about
I'll answer your
suffering-
question. I'll answer your question.
What a
The argument is
childlike
it
argument.
used to be
like-
very repressed because that's very outside of the tradition and the norm and the standard, and that now when you
what
sort of
used
let
to
the
be
boot off
what
the neck
used
a
to
little
be
bit,
suppressed? What used to be suppressed?
all the
Exactly.
entire LGBTQ community. I mean, it was very recently we
Okay,
even
first
got
of
gay
all, they're
marriage
not
in the
a co-
United States.
First of all, they're not a community.
Well, you understand
What is
the point
this
I'm making.
community? No,
What?
no, actually, neither I understand it nor you.
To be honest, this was the
This
part.
is a childlike argument. It sounds
Right. This was the
They're not
part
a
where I was
community.
like, I don't know if he had I literally am like, maybe he had like some kind of stroke or like there's like a brain aneurysm going on or something. And I'm not even trying to just like dunk on him. I genuinely
well, he
think
was in a coma for a while. Maybe
Yeah,
his brain
like,
doesn't work anymore.
I genuinely think that that's like, to have that little self-awareness that you can sit there and make these arguments, it's like, and be an adult who has life experience, I'm assuming.
Trying not to giggle.
Right, like, and that's the other thing. It's like, dude, this guy sees himself as this, like, intellectual guy who's like, oh, I'm, in the free marketplace of ideas and stuff like that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
like, even with Kyle, it's like, it's very obvious, like, it's not like he's, like, trying to play it cool as a strategy to not buy into his intensity. It's just like, I believe that he's genuinely just like, what the fuck? Like, hold up. What?
Yeah, he doesn't
like,
even have to make any points
right.
because,
Like, yeah.
all he has to do is let him speak, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Here, what was the part where I said it was
And
so
then now,
childlike?
we
What
sort of
used
let
to
the
be-
boot off
what
the neck
used
a
to
little
be-
bit.
Oh, when he was like, how many is too many? Like, what's the number? It's like,
Mhm.
dude, it's whatever it is. I mean, you can't try to control that. Like, however many, what do you expect him to say to that? I mean, if you say the same thing about, like, gay people, like, the argument that Kyle's trying to make, it's just like with gay people, where it was a crime, and then it was, like, not necessarily a crime to be gay, but, like, you could get, like, fired, and you can get denied, to live in a certain area or whatever, or, random stuff like that, or just be treated like shit by your family or other people, and that still happens, but you know what I mean. It's like,
Mhm.
you'll see how much what the number is, like, because once people aren't afraid to admit how they feel, then it'll just kind of naturally balance out to be like the natural thing. I mean, I've heard this argument before too. It's like with like left-handedness, that used to be
Yes.
considered like you're like the devil did that to you or some crazy weird thing
Isn't
like
that a fun
Right.
thing?
And these are the people that, and guess what? Those fucking idiots are the Jordan Petersons of their time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Straight up.
Yep.
And
Yep, absolutely.
right, so they want to talk about left-handedness is like a crime and stuff like, or it's like degenerate, and the numbers were really low. It was only like less than 1% of the population or something like that. And then they just stopped persecuting people for that, or stopped trying to force people to, not persecute, stop trying to like smack their hand and make them use their right hand. Once they stopped doing that, it went up to like 12 or 17% or something like that. And it just stayed there.
Yeah.
It's not like people were like, I saw this guy writing with his left hand and now I think I'm a lefty. No, it's just,
Yeah, but I'm sure definitely are some people who probably tried, but you know what? They're not that good at writing with their left hand, so they went back to writing with their right hand.
Right. And guess what? They don't have to feel like their life was ruined and that they've been a victim of some crime by some psychotic butcher who did that. It's like, dude, what are you talking about, bro? Like, it's so...
Psychotic butcher.
Yeah. All right, let's go. I said let's get through this,
God.
and then I made like 20 seconds of progress. All right.
Suppressed. What used to be suppressed?
Standard.
Yeah.
It used to be very repressed because that's very outside of the tradition and the norm and the standard, and that now we sort of let the boot off the neck a little bit.
Suppressed? What used to be suppressed?
The entire LGBTQ community. I mean, it was very recently we
Okay,
even
first
got
of
gay
all, they're
marriage
not
in the
a co-
United States.
First of all, they're not a community.
Not a community.
Well, you
What
understand
is
the point
this
I'm
community?
making.
No, actually, neither I understand it nor you, and that's why we're delving into it.
What?
First of all, they're not a community.
How are they not a community?
I don't understand.
That's just a catchphrase. It's a buzzword. And I'll tell you something else, that almost all the kids who
Communities don't
are
exist. I'm sorry.
Right.
undergoing surgery-
You're not a psychologist. That's just a buzzword. You're not Jordan Peterson. That's just a made-up name. You're not a man. That's just a social construct. Like, what the hell? Like, what?
It turns out that Jordan Peterson actually is a postmodernist after all.
Yeah, true. Let's question everything about meaning and like assign new values to it, right? Like, I don't know if that's what you meant, but yeah. Like,
Yeah, no.
Oh,
What is a community?
right?
Anyway?
What does it mean to be part of a community? And do communities actually exist at all, or are we just individuals floating around? Do we have free will? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
And I'll tell you something else, that almost all the kids who are undergoing surgical intervention, the clinical literature is absolutely clear on this. 80% of kids with gender dysphoria identify as homosexual when they mature. 80%. And that means the vast majority of people who are being converted surgically are gay.
okay.
Now, how is that an advantage to the gay community precisely?
We're not,
No,
that's
see,
not what it's
I'm
about.
not taking a position in any way, shape, or form on the kids because I don't know the
Well, you
first thing
should.
about this to comment on the kids. Well, but see, that's why we're having this conversation, though, is because my original question was
They're
about
kids.
the adults and what your take is on the adults. And it sounds to me like, let me ask you guys, would you ban transition surgery for adults?
I don't know.
Really?
The government shouldn't be
We're paying
involved
a
in
big
people's
price
lives.
for it. And I think that it was
Yeah.
it was an act of stunning hubris to conduct the first trans surgery procedure. And it's not obvious to me at all that it's been a net social good. And
But
so,
aren't there some people that are obviously trans who were born in one body, they feel like they're in the other body, and when they're an adult, they can make the decision? And then even from just a freedom and liberty perspective, shouldn't they have that right? Even if they do it and then they regret it, shouldn't they have the right to try it?
it's a good question.
Yes.
I mean, it's a tricky one, right? Because there's all sorts of surgical enhancement procedures that are it's not obviously appropriate to make them illegal. And I don't know exactly where the cutoff line is, so to speak.
Right,
That's
so
partly why
it's
we're
not
having a public
obviously
discussion.
appropriate to make them illegal because I'm personally okay with them, so they should be illegal. But I'm not personally okay with this, so it deserves to be illegal. It's just like insane.
Yeah, you can get breast enhancements, you can get lip injections, you can get your butt done, you can get fucking fake muscles put into your body,
Right.
you can, get Botox and laser surgeries, but like, if you want to have a surgery that makes you, physically look like the opposite gender, that's
Right.
bad.
When
Even though, like,
yeah.
there are literally people who get surgeries that look like animals.
Right. Yeah, right? It should be right.
It's like, just shut up.
Yeah. What about the
God.
barbaric people who work in tattoo shops who do piercings and stuff like that and should tattoos be illegal? It's like, oh my god, you have mutilated your body with markings of the beast. Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
what do you say about them? Oh, that's, whatever.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
God.
Do your thing. Just do your thing.
Yeah,
Come on.
right.
Do your thing. Everyone just needs to fucking do your thing.
Right.
Do your fucking thing. Come
Right?
on.
Imagine if you can do your thing And what you doing your thing, like just literally do your thing, no matter what it is, right?
Just do your thing.
I can do my thing. My thing is gonna be trying to make other people not be able to do their thing. That's like, and that's why I'm great. It's like
it's
what?
my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I hate people. I hate them all.
Right. Oh,
I want everyone to suffer like I suffer.
Right. Honestly, I think there is a lot of it like that.
Because I only can do one thing, and it's complain.
Right. I really believe a lot of it comes from that because like their attitude a lot of the time. Really, I actually I think this is like an important point that I'll try to think about this more. It's like I think a big part of the reason why conservative types are like so like no, this is wrong. This is wrong. You hear about the classic argument of like oh well it's okay to have, the religious type argument where it's like if you have homosexual desires, you should just not act upon them and then it's okay. God for like you're okay in the eyes of God because you didn't act on it. So you just got to like suppress your feelings and not act on it and just grit your teeth and just like push through it, right? And they all have this idea of like what it means to be a man is basically doing that. Like you just show up to work and you do your job and you provide and this is what you do and this is what it means to be a man and society's falling apart because people are rejecting that and that's corruption of the soul and all this stuff. It's like, what if people are just fed up with being basically cattle? What if it's that? You know what I mean? But they all have this attitude and in order to internalize that and accept that actually project that out there and be like, no, other people should have to deal with what they are not happy with because that's what it means to be like a productive member of society is to just stick through it and just deal with the misery that is life. It's like, why?
I'm sorry that your dad didn't treat you good.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. It's like you don't have to do that either, by the way. You know what I mean? It's like you're part of it. We want everybody to feel like they can do what they want to do in their life. Like come on.
Exactly. God. And it's so it's so frustrating.
It is. All right. Let's see if we can get through this.
Let's get through this.
And I don't know exactly where the cutoff line is, so to speak, and that's partly why we're having a public discussion about it. But this entire argument, in many ways, is stated so idiotically that it almost defies description. What do you mean, feel like you're in the wrong body? What kind of measurement is that? Now, hang on a sec. There are rules for these sorts of diagnostic decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The rule is that you have to make a valid and reliable diagnosis. That's if you're diagnosing depression or anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder or cancer or anything like that. There are standards that you have to abide by in order to make a diagnosis, in order to fulfill the obligations of your professional college. If someone comes to you and says, I feel like I have lung cancer, that is not sufficient grounds on which to formulate a diagnosis, much less proceed to surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, what do you mean by feel? What is that? Is that
but people literally feel like they have depression.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. Right. Yeah, if someone says I feel like I have lung cancer, that's a lot different than saying I feel like I want to kill myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. What is wrong with this man? Like,
and also, like, that's the first step is like, I feel like I have lung cancer. Is like you go to the doctor and then they do
that's another thing
into it, and then they find out if you have it or not, and they say you don't have it, and you say thank you, and then you go home because no one has lung cancer.
Right. God. All right. Let's go. I want to keep talking forever, but.
And so the question is, what do you mean by feel? What is that? Is that an emotion? Is it a motivation? Is it a philosophical conclusion?
Why is he so confused with his own thinking?
Let me explain to you what I mean. So I've been doing my show for about a decade, and about 2 or 3 years into doing my show, there were some stories here and there that I covered about the trans issue. Somebody who is trans reached out to me and explained to me in a very straightforward way, yeah, look, I was born biologically female. I feel like I'm biologically male. My reality never lined up. Well, I'm just explaining what they said, and then you can respond however you'd like to respond. And they told me as soon as I got the surgery, changed
I
the way I dressed,
honestly think that it should be as simple as like this should not be questioned any further than like I honestly, like really, I feel like I want to do this.
I agree.
I feel like I want to be a nurse. I feel like I want to make this thing or be this way or talk like this.
Agreed.
People are allowed to feel like they want to do stuff.
Right. If someone...
What do you mean you feel like you want to do something?
Right.
I just feel like I want to. I feel like I want to do it.
Right. And
What do you mean? Well, this is like it's like an abusive relationship, gaslighting. Like, what do you mean you
Totally.
feel like you want to leave me?
Yeah,
What does that
exactly.
even mean? You know that you're not supposed to leave me. You're supposed to
Right.
stay here because feeling like you're supposed to leave is not enough. You know?
Yep.
Come on.
No, absolutely.
What?
Totally.
Okay, I guess I'll stay.
It's insanity.
I guess I'll kill myself then.
Right. It's just like that. Yeah. I've decided
Jesus.
for you how you're going to live your life, and you mean you feel like it shouldn't fit in? You mean that you, an individual, feel differently than the other 7 billion people who naturally every one of them feels exactly the same as the next, you know? But you don't? What's wrong with you? It's like there are people who feel
And the thing
like,
is, fuck no. Keep going. I'm sorry.
no, go.
He literally like one of the things that Jordan Peterson talks about a lot too is like, you know, the big 5 personality traits and all this stuff and how people are like, you know, predisposed to feel a certain way about
Really?
stuff.
God.
Yeah. You know, and then it's like, why can't you just stretch your mind just a little bit further and be like, maybe some people feel like they're the opposite gender than they were born as.
Right.
Why?
It just seems like the most
They just
easy to
feel like
understand thing in the world. It really.
Why do you have to argue with them?
That's
They
what.
just feel like they are.
Right.
That they just feel like it.
And the only reason that's bad is because people like you say that it's bad.
Yeah. They feel like it, and not only do they feel like it, they act like it, and they live like it,
Right.
and they go through the turmoil that it takes to become it.
Right.
And you're gonna sit here and be like, "What do you mean by feel?"
Right. If I
Look
don't
at a trans
understand
person.
if I don't understand every aspect of what it means to be you, an individual, then it's invalid. Because if I can't understand it, then it's not true. Like, you're so stupid. And by the way, I'm also like part of a media group that like part of the agenda is to delegitimize these types of beliefs, but it's not even a belief. It's just an attitude of like, yeah, I trust you when you say that you are a certain way. Like, okay.
I know.
Yeah. God. All right. Let's go.
Phenomenally better. And so that's why, at least for me, this was the answer. Now, I think it would be incredibly arrogant for me to say back to that person, no, you shouldn't do that, or I know better than you do for yourself. Now, that's not to say that every time somebody does this, it works out well, of course, because everybody's an individual. But in some instances, that's the answer. So, you know, me as a simple outsider, I just look at it and say, hey, whatever floats your boat, and if it works, it works.
Look, most of the time, my attitude is you can go to hell in handbasket any way you choose if you're an adult. Now, this problem is complicated and compounded by the fact of the necessity of medical involvement and the ethics on the medical front. So when you asked me about how that should be regulated, my answer was I'm not exactly sure about that.
Yeah,
Although it isn't obvious to me that it's obvious to me that the trans surgery enterprise has gone way too far, thousands of people too far. And I'm certain that it's harmed exponentially more people than it's helped.
All right, guys, what you just saw was...
Wow. That is
Kyle.
just shocking.
Yeah.
That is just...
It's just a bad take. It's just a bad take, Jordan. I'm sorry. It's just a
Right.
bad take.
So I noticed.
Sorry. And yeah, it's a
It
horrible
doesn't even
thing.
like align with the way that you normally talk and think about stuff. It's very obvious that this man has been something happened to him.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's something physical or something like just, you know, money related, that it's like, all right, this is my job to talk about this stuff now, but like, I don't know. It's just insane.
Well, no, I think that you know, kind of what happens is like it's like a peer thing, right? You know,
yeah,
you get into the loop of like talking to just like the same people about the same stuff, and then you know, you're like, oh, okay, and then you start believing it to be true, and then next thing you know, you're saying it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just that, I think.
Yeah, I think, honestly, good point. I think if I had
to happen to Joe Rogan as well, you know,
Exactly.
you have like one too many like right-wing people on, and you start like seeing like, because it's normal to want to like relate to people,
Yeah.
right? So especially if it's not like a hot trigger topic, because like this wasn't for a little while,
Sure.
and then it became one within that sphere.
Yeah.
So he has one person on who writes a book about the like the parents of trans kids who regretted getting their surgeries, and then he hears that argument. Now he has that in his head, and then he has somebody else on who whatever, and
Right.
and then you're in this. You're not like, and at a certain point, you're no longer open to the other perspective because you think that you know the truth.
Right. And I think something that adds on to it is then you go around, and I can understand it, and I find this to be something worth taking into consideration when, actually thinking about what's the best way to achieve goals. It's like, I think a lot of what happens is, and, not saying like, oh, we need to keep the Jordan Petersons and the Joe Rogans of the world happy and make sure that they agree with us and whatever. But I'm just saying it does affect more than just that. Because a lot of people are ignorant to this stuff and they don't understand. And they just think like, oh, what? Doing that is weird. No, that is weird. It's right. We agree. And then like, or even if you're looking at it a little, I'll be a little bit more charitable. If you're just like, yeah, I think that they should be allowed to do that, but like, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird thing. Like when someone, what about with kids or something like that? Like, should they be allowed to do it? And then if someone turns around and is like, you're being a hateful bigot and you're, oh my God, how can you say something like that? That's violence towards trans people and whatever. Which, yes, technically I agree, but it's like, in a way, like, you know what I mean? If they're doing it out of pure just like, I'm trying to learn more and I just don't know and I used the wrong words, you shouldn't be just like shitting on a person for that. But like, if they're going around thinking they're making a good point and they're like, no, I just want to know about this and this is a problem for me personally and whatever, you just say the wrong thing or whatever, you don't realize the rules of the conversations as they are sometimes, and you get railed on by like people who are like, that's, oh my God, I didn't realize you're a Nazi, I didn't realize you're a white right-wing fascist or whatever. It's like, yeah, then they're gonna be like, whoa, hold on, these people are nuts. Like, and then you hear someone talking about, oh, well, yeah, no, I'm just saying, I don't think that, like, I'm worried about the kids, man. I'm worried about, like, I think that we shouldn't allow adults to make choices about their own bodies because I'm just worried about, like, the outcomes for kids. If you're not really trying to engage with it too much and you hear that, that sounds a lot more reasonable than saying something like, wait, no, dudes can't have kids. And then being told, like, that's an act of violence and you have just committed, like, violence towards marginalized communities and you're a hateful bigot. Like, if you're doing it disingenuously, like Josh Hawley, then yeah, that's obvious. But if someone just says it, like, just because they don't know what the hell they're talking about and they're oblivious, like, yeah, I can see how someone would latch on to, like, be like, whoa, those people are nuts. These people are normal. Like, yeah, duh. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
definitely.
And I'm not saying the people are wrong, but the people calling it violence are wrong in their wording. But the context is just like, dude, there's got to be a better way to convince somebody to agree with you, Yeah.
Well, it's just like, yeah, that's the thing. It's and that's the battle, honestly, is like the progressives are trying to normalize this and the right is trying to maintain its degeneracy.
Yeah.
And that's the battle. That's the rhetorical battle, because like just like with gay marriage and all that stuff, like it, and abortion and a lot of shit, it became normal,
right?
Like for a lot of most Americans and most people across the world feel like it's normal,
right? And women being allowed to vote and work and
yep,
and black people allowed to
enter stores,
yeah, right, like go to school, live places. Yeah, these are all the hard fought battles of America that we hear about that makes this country so great, and that's why I'm so proud to be an American. You are the people that were fighting against that. What? Sorry.
I can't believe how much fucking time we're wasting on this stupid shit. Like, really, this is the fucking arguments we have to have. Like, just let people do the thing.
Right. It's such common sense.
Well, let's think about better things. And I know that it's literally like it's obvious almost that we're talking about this because they don't want to talk about universal health care. They don't want to talk about the possible benefits or negative effects of doing a universal basic income. They don't want to talk about what it would. They don't want any more media time to go to the unions that are forming across the country.
Right.
You know, they don't want to talk about the price of housing and
Right.
the housing
Income
market and how like,
inequality
it's
and
literally
wealth
on the verge of collapse.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about these things. You know, they want to cover the real things. Like, is this person a man or a woman?
What happens if they go into a bathroom and there's a person in there and they decide in that moment to commit a crime, and then technically they're protected by the fact that what is their gender? I don't know. Like the sign on the bathroom has a person with a skirt on it, but that person's not wearing a skirt, and now what? Like you know.
Yeah. Let's think about things that are going to benefit society and not like just get stuck in the stupid ass. God, I wish that we could just ignore them.
Right, I
But
know.
sadly,
Honestly,
they are actively trying to like legislate this
Right.
shit. So
right. If it was
it's
just
a little hard to ignore it.
right, if it was just bullshit conversations, I would do that at this point. I would just be like, yeah, okay, think that if you want. I just disagree with you. Here's like, and I would be like, you know, like, here's a link, and I encourage you to read this because I think it'll really educate you about it. But let's move on to stuff that's like relevant to how to move like society forward. But it's like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, they have made this an issue that now this does have to be like addressed. It's like you can't just be like, all right, I don't care. You can just be an idiot about this topic. It's like they're not just being idiots about the topic. They're like trying to make it illegal and stuff and roll back laws for gay people and stuff. You know, like
I know. It's literally insane. It's like, and yeah,
yeah.
we'll figure it out
I hope so. I think so.
together.
Yeah. Oh, you mean
Me and
we
you.
specifically? Will
Me
figure
and
it
you
out.
will figure it
Yeah,
out.
we'll
yes.
be the next Jordan Petersons who are like, we have all the answers, and if you don't, if
Yeah.
I don't get what you're saying, you're wrong by default. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, call into the show and let us know.
yeah. We'll argue with you and tell you, no, you're wrong. We'll ask you. We'll do stuff like
What do
Jordan
you mean
Peterson.
by community?
We'll be like, hey, let me ask you a question. How many people is too many people? Well, I think. Hold on now. It's like, well, you just asked him a question, like, and he tried to answer the question. And you know, we'll do that to you. You know, it'll be fun.
Yeah. It's a good way of talking.
Yeah. God.
They are doing so good. They're doing so good. Look
Who?
at them. These fucking right winger fucking. I mean, you told me. Look at the comments. Look at the comments on fucking. Not Kyle Klinsky's page, but just it's so bizarre how like it seems like there really is like it's obvious to both sides that they're right,
Yeah, I know.
which is like I've always found that so difficult because truly, I mean, one of my things as a person is I always do want to see both sides and understand both sides to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
But the only logical conclusion that I can come to with this is like it's okay to not like trans people, but you can't not let them be.
Sure. Yeah. I
You
mean,
know what I mean? Like that, then that's the only logical. Like it's fine to think it's weird, and like, you know, honestly, if you want to be a shitty person, you can be a shitty person, but like we're not going to stop it from happening because
Right.
like, why?
Exactly.
Why would that be the answer?
Right. Like, I don't see. You know, I'm not out here arguing that like if someone wants to have a, have their child baptized. Or like circumcision or something like that. I mean, what the fuck? You want to talk about like why are people not outraged about that? You know what I mean? It's like you're performing a brutal surgery on the genitals of a child against their will with no consent, and how is that going to shape their future? And like, you know, like that's just like normal. And I don't have a strong opinion on that or whatever. I'm just saying it's like we don't talk about that. Like people do talk about it, but it's like it's not like turning into a nationwide hot topic issue that they won't shut the fuck up about for 2 seconds. Someone brings up, like I said before, someone brings up like how should the economy be organized and how should the workplace, the employer-employee dynamic be worked out. And then they relate that to, well, you like murdering babies and you like, dyeing your hair pink and saying that you're a different gender and there's 276 genders according to a study from blah, blah, blah. It's like, so? Who cares? Like, who cares? Yeah. If there's 10 billion genders, more than there are humans on Earth, who cares? Yeah. Which actually could happen because, you know, if you're one way in the morning and one way at night, like, cool, do your thing. Like, who cares? Like, how do you care? How?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Just let people do their fucking thing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Do your fucking thing. Go out there and do your thing. Just everyone needs to go and do their thing. Regular things. Just do your regular thing. Don't bother other people doing their thing. Let them do their thing and you do
Right.
your thing, which doesn't involve them.
Exactly.
Doesn't involve each other. You just both do your thing separately.
Right. It's like you want to.
If you can't get along and play together, then you just got to play separately. Just you go over there and do your thing,
Yeah.
which ideally is not just complaining about how other people are doing their thing. Please.
Right.
You have better things to do than complain about other people, right?
Yeah. Jordan Peterson should write another book called. Well, actually, he wouldn't be the one writing this. Someone should write a book and give it to him, and it should be called "One Rule for Life."
Yeah.
Just do your thing, and don't worry about other people doing their thing. If it's not preventing, unless it's preventing others from doing their thing.
Yes.
Do your thing. Do your thing. In pursuit. Do your thing so others can do their thing. That should be the attitude, you know? Like, you know?
Yes.
And
That's
it kind
another
of
t-shirt we need.
encompasses it all.
Do
you
your
know?
thing.
Yeah, right. Because some people will be like, "Oh, well, if someone does their thing, what if their thing is going around and punching people in the face?" It's like, well,
Yeah,
then
no,
you're
do
preventing
your
them
thing
from doing
to
their
people.
thing.
Do your thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. As long as your thing doesn't get in the way of other people doing their thing, you should be allowed to do your thing.
right.
Don't be murdering people. Don't be hurting people. Don't be making people's days worse. Everyone already has a bad day.
Right.
Do your thing over there.
Yeah.
All right. I guess with that,
Yeah. Let's get the hell out of here because I was about to
Jordan
just go
Peterson
off on this
tired me
whole
the
other
fuck
thing.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that
Well,
was
anyway,
fun
folks.
though. Yeah.
Yeah. I always love doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week we should be on the nice Monday, Wednesday again.
Yeah.
Unlike this week. This week was a little ooh-wee, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm sure everybody knows exactly every single detail. You know.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, boy. Anyway, do your thing.
Yeah.
Everyone. Fucking do your thing.
Just do it. Nike. Just kidding. Not Nike.
Don't.
But yeah.
Edit that out. Edit that shit out.
Yeah. Just kidding. Not Nike. This is not sponsored. No, I'm just kidding. Do your
All right.
thing. All right.
Well, we'll see you guys on Monday, ideally.
Yep.
As long as I don't do my thing too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. All right. Well, yep. See you next time.
Thanks for coming. This is the Pine Man